Out of all the characters in the Rainbow Six community, there are a few who need no introduction. One of those happens to be on our show today. You know him as a young player who is a world champion, who's captained a team now for almost half a decade, 4 years, as of just a couple weeks ago. He's been kind of all over the world. He started his journey in one continent before moving somewhat controversially over to another after winning the first major in the midst of a pandemic. Our guest is affectionately referred to by me and many casters as Karl, but you know him as Alem4o. Welcome to the show, Alem4o. How are you doing today?
Hello, guys. I'm doing fine. Enjoy being here right now. Talk to you guys.
It's good to have you on the show. I've been able to watch pretty much most of your career and cast most of your career actually from the very beginning. You know, obviously from the INTZ or INTZ, depending on how you pronounce it. And then you had that miracle run through Mexico. And then the moment that you were able to bring a trophy to Brazil, you decided that that wasn't good enough and that you wanted to go over to Europe. And then over time, have slowly brought some Brazilians over to help you and G2. And of course, I mean, you ended up winning a hammer. There are people who play this game for a decade and never accomplish that. And obviously you've done that. So in that sense, you are already in a class of your own. We're going to start the same way we do with most of our guests, Karl, which is that we're going to start at the very beginning and we're going to go through your career. But before we get there, at this point in time, now with you being competing for, 5, 6, 7 years now at this point, if you eliminate lifting the hammer, what do you think, if you retired tomorrow, would be the most notable thing from your career that you would take with you?
I mean, maybe the Mexico Major trophy, but for me personally, I would say it was the match against Cyclops that we made the first tiebreak on Siege history, or maybe even on esports history. I don't even know if there was another tiebreak match on esports history, but I know that on Siege was the first one. And that game was just insane. For those who watched, I think everybody thought it was just like insane because we couldn't lose a single round. And I don't know how many players played a game with this pressure of not losing a single round. I would honestly say maybe just the Furia roster, right, the W7M, when they won a SAI against FaZe, because they were down 6-1 and they had to win every single round in a row to make, and it was on the grand final, fifth map. So that was like even more incredible than what I did. But what I did was also crazy because we were down 0-2, I think, or it was like 2-2 score against Cyclops on Consulate, and then we had to win like 5 rounds in a row and asking clutch a 1v3. Like, it was just insane. Like, I had my heart like popping out of my chest. And in my opinion, it was even more grateful for my career than actually winning that major, because after winning that match and then the tie break right after, like, we won the game and we had no idea what was going to happen, and then the admin just came to us and said, look guys, you guys have to still play one more match, the tie break is going to be right now. And we were like, what like what, this never happened before, so nobody knew what was going to happen. And then they just put us to play the tie break right after, and then we won, and then we made to playoffs, and then we ended up like beating Liquid, Dark4o, and then VP on the final. But honestly, I would say I would think like we already knew we won the major after we won that thing, because that thing was just insane.
You're nodding your head, Kyle, but it's kind of funny to hear him say that because that group was not particularly strong, and I feel like the consensus, your good friend Skies was actually an analyst for that event, Mint. The general consensus seemed to be that doesn't matter who wins. They're not a very good team. They're not going to make a deep run. So it's funny that that was our perspective. And then Karl's like, the moment that we beat CAG, we knew we were going all the way.
Yeah, I mean, I'll be honest. Team one was the one team I didn't want to make out of there because they were a Brazilian team, and we struggled. We struggled against Brazilian teams. I would have much rather I don't know who else was in there, but anybody fucking else, because we ended up getting COVID and having to play from our rooms, and we had to play these fucking guys, and we got absolutely smoked. So that was not a fun experience.
Yeah. I want to talk about Mexico quite a lot because I feel like maybe unfairly, maybe fairly, I think Mexico was when you started to gain quite the reputation and people started to really pick up on you as a player. I think that was kind of where the spotlight shone the brightest on you. And I mean, if you don't have Mexico, you don't have G2, you don't have Montreal, you don't have all these victories, you don't have your current standing, right? And I think Mexico is a huge part of that. But Mexico's not where you started. you actually started in the T2 scene before you got picked up by. How do you pronounce in Brazil? Is it INTZ? Is it we say INTZ a lot?
Yeah, I mean it's INTZ, but like in Portuguese it's like INTZ, but it's pretty much INTZ is how you pronounce.
Okay. So walk me through the beginning of your career. How did you find Rainbow Six Siege as a video game? How did you decide I want to play this? And then at what point did you decide that you maybe wanted to go pro?
I mean, actually, it's just like a random story because I was never really a fan of FPS. Like I play like Call of Duty, like a little bit, but I just used to play games for fun, like Assassin's Creed or like FIFA, just like games for fun, never really competitive. But like my friends, we were all playing Call of Duty together, like the Black Ops 3, and then one of them bought Siege, and back in 2016, I think was the beta, like I think right or 2015, end of 2015 maybe.
Yeah.
Was the beta. Yeah, I had a friend from a school who bought back then. I was like 15 years old or like 14 years old, and I had one friend who bought the game, and then another friend of me bought the game, and then I bought at the beginning of 2016. So I played like the season 1, and I was the worst. Like all my colleagues from school, we used to play together, and we used to go like to each other's house. We used to bring like the TVs and the PlayStations to make boot camps in our own house. So like I have pictures like back in my childhood, like 15 years, me and my friends, the living room is full of TVs, and we are 5 stacking ranked. And the fun fact is that I was the worst player in the squad. Like I was the worst. I was like copper, KD 0.8 during the whole first year of Rainbow Six, and my friends used to carry me. But I started watching competitive Siege then. Like the back in the days, Brazil was not part of the global circuit, but they had like the BR6 in Brazil, and Gohan used to play, Asher used to play against Nesk. They were both in Santos Dex, and Nesk was in INTZ, and it was like the classic. And I started like watching them playing, and then I got like more interest. I got more interest to play the game, and then I bought a PC. Fun fact: my parents like offered me like as a 15th year birthday present. I could either do like study abroad for 1 year in US to get like some experience outside Brazil, or I'll get a gaming PC, and I chose the gaming PC. And then I started, which is like kind of dumb choice, right? But like it was what I was really loving to do back then, and I chose the PC, and I was the only guy in my school who bought the PC to play Siege. My other friends kept playing on console on PS4, and then I started playing PC alone, and I was just grinding, like playing ranked alone. And then I met like these other people back in the days, and after 1 year. I was already playing with the guys that came from PS4 as well, like Felipox, Lukid, all those guys. We used to play on the same TeamSpeak, KDS as well, Lagonis, STK. Everyone used to play on the same TeamSpeak. We had this TeamSpeak that everybody that came from PS4 used to play together, and then they built like 2 rosters. One was the plus 18 roster, which was the Lukid roster, Lukid, Reduct, Faust, R Rise. Remember this guy? And then we had also like the underage team, which was those who were not 18 yet, so we couldn't play the Challenger League, which was me, Kurtz, Felipox, and then like Raps, etc. And fun fact that many people don't remember is that they tried to play Challenger League with Lukid and Rise underage on fake accounts. I don't know if you guys remember that, and then they got banned.
You say I don't even remember. I have no memory of that at all.
Yeah, they tried to play Challenger Leagues with Lukid and Rise underage on different accounts. They got banned, I think, that season because the admins figured out what they're trying to do. So then we had to play with Lukid for a couple months on the team, and then he turned 18, and then they went to Pro League, and they were like top 4, top 3 of Brazil. They went to Vegas, the DreamHacks, and they were a really good team. And we, as underage, we were trying to talk to the admins in Brazil to change the rule so we could play a tournament, because we used to practice against every single tier 1 teams. Back in the days, I think the 2 bottom teams in Brazil on the tier 1, it was Spain and Corinthians, like was some other team.
Yeah, Corinthians or whatever the heck.
Remember that?
Team.
And
I do. I have a working memory of a lot of those Brazilian teams because we casted them, but they didn't stick around long enough, so I don't remember them that well.
Bro, back then we used to practice against them, and we used to 5-0 them. Like, we didn't lose a single round to them. Like, we were like very, very superior to those guys, and they were in
Yeah.
tier 1. And then we were 16, and we were thinking, bro, we had to wait 2 more years to play competitive. That's such a pain. Like that's like terrible, you know. But then I think at this point of my life, I was still in high school, and we started practicing against like Liquid, FaZe, NIP, and getting good scores. Even if you go back in the days, like when Liquid won Atlantic City, they praise us a lot on their social medias and on their streams on Twitch, saying we helped them a lot to get to a level that they could win the tournament. Because we used to practice Liquid like at least 3 times a week. Like, they were like our top screen partner. So we actually helped them to also be good to win the Atlantic City, and they praise us for that. And it was just like a pain in the ass to, like, not be able to compete back then. But we knew we were gonna get picked up by professional teams. So I guess even in high school, I think me and my colleagues, like Felipox reps, we kind of like didn't even thought about the university because we knew a team would pick us up.
It's kind of funny that you say that, because it's like when you rub the bottle and the genie comes out and he's like, I will give you $1,000 a week every week for the rest of your life, or I'll give you this Ferrari. And you're like, okay, I'll take the Ferrari. And it's like, well, if you took the money, you'd have way more. But it's just like, you're like, travel abroad, go to school, enrich my life, or computer. And you're like, hell, man, I'm taking the computer. It's like
The man that knows what he wants.
And it worked out, right? I mean, you look at all he's accomplished now because of it. So I mean, you could have got an education and you could have traveled abroad, but now you get to travel abroad and see probably more of the world than you ever thought you would have because of this job. And honestly, it's a familiar situation that I found myself in. Like, I actually, this is a fun little fact. I actually never finished university. I know some people know this. If you watch my stream, you know this. The broader community might not actually know this. I was in the last year of my own bachelor's. I was doing a double major honors program, and I was so burnt out by it that I dropped out and I moved to Western Canada, and I worked for a couple of years. I paid off all my student debt. I just needed a mental break. While I was out there using all the money that I made, I also bought a computer and built a PC. And then that computer is ultimately what I ended up casting on when I moved home, when I was back in school. And then I got the job basically to work in Poland, and I dropped out of school, I guess, for the second time. And I moved to Europe, and I just remember the conversations I'd have with my own mom, my mom would be like, you need to finish your education. You got so close. You might as well finish it, blah, blah, blah. And then I was like, but I already have the job that I would use the degree for. I'm not thinking long term here. And the next thing you know, I'm almost 10 years now strong. So like, I totally get it. And honestly, I've said this before. I think that it's wildly unrealistic to imagine that you're going to go be a professional player just because you're really good at something, but you still got to play the odds, and you play the odds and you won, my friend. So here you are, and you managed to put together quite an impressive career. You won a major with a very intriguing team. You won a hammer. Your name forever will be, well, I guess it's not technically etched on the hammer, even though I think it should be, but that's a topic for a later show. And now here you are, and you get to live all over. Now you're living in Germany, right? You're in Berlin, I believe.
Serbia. I left Berlin.
Oh, you're in Serbia.
Yes.
Why Serbia?
When I moved to G2, of course, like to live in Berlin, I was living close to the headquarters, and the apartments G2 had. Actually, fun fact: I lived on Pengu's apartment my first year of G2. I got his apartments.
Like his old apartment.
Yeah, because G2 had like some apartments in Berlin they used to get for the players, the ones who had like a contract that they would like pay for your apartment there. And I got Pengu's apartment. And I think the first time G2 tried to get me was after the Paris SI, when I dropped like 20 kills against them on Chalet. Like we were also losing 6-2, then we came back. I aced first ace of SI with Twitch there. And then after that game, they called Team One. They wanted to buy me there in, I think it was like April or May, but I couldn't get the visa, so they only got me like 1 year after the Sweden SI.
Yeah.
And I think their plans was replacing the Pengu spot with me, because we used to play like the same roles, like like kind of like flex, smoke, and shield sometimes, like flex player. So the idea was like replacing Pengu with me, but we had to delay for 1 year because of like visa issues. But I ended up being in Pengu's apartment on Berlin. I lived for 1 year there, and then I was thinking like, okay, like professional player is a short career, so I need to save as much money as I can while I'm doing this, because after that I don't know what I'm gonna do. It's a risky job to have. It's not like comfortable. And I'm always a guy who like think like with a like, low time preference. I want to have like a good life when I'm like older. And then like in Germany, I was paying like 50% taxes or like even more, like was a lot. And then I after we won the hammer, that I realized, okay, I'm gonna get a lot of money now, and I don't want to lose like half of this in taxes. I'm gonna try to find another country in Europe that I can pay like less taxes. And then when I found Serbia and my accountant to help me, and then I moved to Serbia because like I already live far away from my friends and my family.
Why not
Like
Malta? They don't pay any tax at all.
yeah, I know, but like I find this guy. I don't know. I tweeted that I wanted to move, and a girl texted me saying she used to help CS:GO players moving from Russia to Belgrade for like political reasons, right, to compete
Yeah.
in the tournaments.
Yeah.
And then she said she could help me, and then I was like, okay. And then I met my accountant that I still have today, and he helps me with this stuff. So I guess it's a good thing I did to help me for my future.
Yeah, I mean, like, I'm not endeavor to not talk about politics here. And despite the fact that I have my own political beliefs, I don't really see a reason to pay an outrageous amount of taxes when you're basically just like a tourist in a country, right? Like, I mean, you're not
Yeah,
going to live in Serbia or Germany for the rest of your
forever.
life. Like, you're there for a short period of time. It's basically like you have to be there.
Yeah,
I guess it's kind of one of those things where like practical purposes versus like philosophical purposes collide. And it's like, yeah, on the one hand, like it's good if you're making a lot of money to help out. But on the other hand, it's like if you're only there for a year or two, why needlessly harm your own income when you're not like you're not gonna be taking advantage of any of the things that your taxes are going
Yeah.
towards. So it's like when I lived in Poland, it's like I basically didn't use or do anything. Yet I still paid taxes in Poland, which I had no problem with. But it's like I'm not using healthcare in Poland. Like if I needed healthcare, I just did it when I went back in Canada. But I'm still getting taxed in Canada as well. So it's like I'm getting taxed in both places. But
yeah,
I'm really only taking any benefits from Canada. It's like again, I don't have a problem with it, but it's like I know some countries in Europe you lose a lot of money, and it's
yeah. No,
like why not go somewhere
and
where you don't have to do that if you're only there temporarily? Like I get
yeah.
it.
No, and it's also like something you have to put on the balance because like I'm already living abroad alone. I have no friends here when I was in Berlin. I mean, I guess like Jake used to live there as well, but like I have no
Yeah.
family. So it's already like kind of a sacrifice. Like my life is basically my job. Like I work every day. I don't see any friends, any family. My
Yeah.
life is my job. So why I'm gonna live in Berlin paying 50% taxes if I can live in Serbia having the same life, not seeing anyone for like 3 months and
Yeah.
paying less taxes? So like it's just it's a no-brainer.
Yeah. I had the same thing in Poland where it was like obviously taxes in Poland are lower. Like quality of service in Poland is obviously lower than Germany. I don't know how it's stacked up against Serbia, but it was just like I could have been anywhere in Europe. It didn't matter. Like with our working schedule and the fact that it's like I couldn't really speak the language, couldn't really communicate. Like we weren't really in like the city center, and it's just like I could be anywhere in the world right now. It doesn't really matter. I just need I need a cube to live in with decent internet. That's really all I need at this point. So I completely get that. I was just making a joke because it's like everybody in Counter-Strike always seems to go to Malta.
Yeah,
I'll go to
yeah.
Malta
Or
because
or
it's
also Andorra, right? Also a good
Yeah.
spot. People go there.
yeah, it's all these like tiny little micronations where it's like they all like Liechtenstein, like Luxembourg, like all these countries basically exist just to be tax havens. They're just tiny little like you can't even see them on a map, and then it's like people go there, and it's like I'll be honest, Malta looks kind of nice. I don't.
Yeah.
It's nothing about like tax policy. I just like look at Malta, and I'm like, it seems like this would be a cool place to live. So.
Yeah.
So from INTZ, how do you end up on Team One? Let's just keep going through this chronological order. So you end up, you're on Team One. How do you get on Team One?
Yeah. I mean, after INTZ, I think it was 2020. My start there was really good. My debut, we beat Liquid, we beat my BR. We were leading the Brazil League in INTZ the first season until the end. And then and we were hyped because probably we're gonna go to the tournament, like the LAN tournament. And then COVID happened, was in the middle of the season. So the stage 2 of BR6, I think we just like lost motivation because there won't be like a LAN event to go. So we like ending up like losing a lot of games to FaZe, Liquid, NIP. And then I think we finished like 5th on the leaderboard. It was like a decent year, but I could have been better. But at the end of the year, I didn't have any like expectations to like achieve something with that roster on INTZ. Like in my eyes, we were a bad team, and I was having like a good performance. I think I was like the top 5th player on like kills, only after like Muzi, Pino, Nesk, and Paulo. So I wanted to go to somewhere else, you know. And then the Team One project was formed on the off season, and Chubbs was chosen by like leading the project with Lagones. And then the first name Lagones thought was me because we already played together when we were kids, and he knew I wasn't happy in INTZ. You know, I maybe would want to go for a better team. And then we built the team from zero. Like we were just like looking for names. I think KDS was the first name came into our attention because he already played for FaZe, and we used to play with him also in the past, so we already knew him. And it was me, Lagones, and KDS. And then we just had to figure out who was gonna be the other two players. So we ended up thinking about Levy because he was playing for a good Challenger League team back then. He was a good player. Also, I already played with him before on Unforgiven back when I was like playing amateur leagues. And Naskin, also, I think he had like a good performance on Challenger League, and then we pick up Naskin. So that's how we build the team. And it was still a risky bet. Like in my eyes, I wanted to be like on a FaZe clan because FaZe was changing rosters. I want to be like in a Liquid, but like I just like didn't got any offers. So I went to Team One, and then we got the spot for free to go to SI Paris because it was like all the roster that changes 1-to-1. Team One had a spot on SI, so we got the free spot to go to Paris. We went to Paris, and then it was when I made my name. You know, like people after that game against G2, I opened Twitter, and I was very attached to like having like having these connections with other players, like bonding with like people that I used to watch playing when I was like a just like a fan of Siege. So like when after that game and when I see like I got like 10,000 followers and like Canadian was following me, like every single pro from like Europe and NA were following me. I was like, oh my god, like I'm so happy right now. Like I even have like I think on my highlights on Instagram, there's like a stories I posted right after that match, and I was like so happy. You can see my face, like I'm so happy. And like I was just like, bro, there was adrenaline going all over my body. And right after like I received the news that G2 was trying to buy me, and then I was like, holy shit, like what is happening? And then after Paris, we ended up winning the Mexico major. Then Sweden major, we also played good. We ended up like on the quarterfinals, we lost to Rogue. And Sweden major, we got grouped. But we played better than Navi and Oxygen. Remember, was that I even tweeted about that because I think we won 2 games on the group stages. Both Navi and Oxygen won only 1 game, and they made more points than us because they lost 2-1 and they made 1 point on those losses. So they went to the playoffs and we got grouped. So that was my end of career in Brazil.
For people, go ahead.
I mean, I'm kind of curious because I actually had no idea that G2. I mean, they called you a year before they got you. So
Yeah.
that's kind of.
You didn't
big.
hear the
Like,
rumors in Mexico that this would be that the team was largely disbanding? Did you hear? Had you heard those?
Maybe that it's disbanding. Maybe that it was disbanding.
Yeah.
I think I might have heard something like that because you guys kind of had like a miracle run in a sense. But like
Yeah.
with them kind of wanting you,
Yeah.
do you think
And
that like
like
kind of affected like your performance or the team's performance? Like, did the team know you were probably going to leave them after a little while?
I mean, the team knew, and I wanted to go, but like like we tried to do after SI Paris, it didn't work because we didn't have visa. We tried to do
Yeah.
like after the Mexico major, it didn't work, didn't have visa, and then by the Sweden major, we just talked, okay, let's do it after SI because it's gonna be easier. Like there's a bigger transfer window, and let's do it there, you know. But my team they were not happy, you know, about losing me because. My humble opinion, I was the best player in the world in 2021. My humble opinion, with no ego. But they were dealing good in like I think with my exit. They were supporting me. I think every one of them was saying, "Karl, you should go." Like that's like a once in a life opportunity. And back then, not a single Brazilian went abroad. Right, I was the first Brazilian to go out to play for a international team. So I kind of like also opened the eyes of the world. I think about like importing Brazilians because back then I think NIP won Paris, we won Mexico, FaZe won Sweden. So Brazil was really like very hyped back then. But the teams maybe in NA in Europe they didn't really trust. Like okay, maybe we should get a Brazilian like to try to help us win like a title since Brazil is the best league at the moment. And I think like after I went to G2 and we succeeded like winning SI like 1 year after, I think then everybody started trying to pick a Brazilian. Brazil coaches now. Falcons has a Brazil coach. Secret has a Brazilian coach. NA has a
Yeah.
Brazilian coach. Like
Yeah. I mean, can we actually dig into that? Can we start talking about him transferring? Because you just brought it up right there, right? I mean, you were the first big name, in my opinion, to make the switch. You opened everybody's eyes. What led to it? Besides, was it just G2 being a big org? Like, what kind of led to leaving Brazil, the best region in Siege, to go to EU? Were you a Pengu fan?
I mean, I don't know if I was playing like in a phase or a liquid or something like that. I would have went to G2 because of course that's a big move. But I think also financially speaking, like I said before, like I need to worry about my future. I wasn't getting paid too much in Team One, like it was a Brazilian org, like there's no like dollars getting in the account. It's just like Brazilian reals. So maybe if I was like in a better team, like financially better in Brazil, maybe I would have stayed. I don't know. But like the opportunity that I got from G2, it was like life changing for me, like completely changed my life. And then like that was one thing, and also. I already had to live in São Paulo, in Brazil, which is not my hometown city. So I already had to live far away from my family and my friends. So I guess if I'm going to live in Europe, it's gonna be the same thing. It's just instead of being 2 hours away from home, I'm 15 hours away from home. But it's gonna be the same life. I'm just gonna live Siege the whole day for 3 months and then
Right.
go back to see them after 3 months. So financially speaking, I think it was a great decision. But when I arrived in G2, I thought they were better. Like I was really scared when I joined there, and in my eyes, they didn't know anything about the game. Like the meta was
Yeah.
just like completely different, and I had to play under like Pranos IGL, which I couldn't agree. Like I didn't agree at all, and it was a tough first year in G2. The first year was like awful for us.
You mentioned that you would have liked to play for the phase and for the liquid. I actually thought I heard a rumor that there was a chance you were going to pair with Palu and Nesk at that time. And so is that not true? Did you not have an offer to play for liquid?
After the Mexico Major, I got an offer from Liquid, but I already kind of like agreed on going to G2 after SI Paris. And also the offer was way better. So, and also the fact of the idea of me replacing Pengu is kind of like something like I gotta accept that deal, right? I mean, it's a lot of pressure, but like I kind of like have to accept this deal. And back then, I think Pengu was also hyping me up a lot on Twitter. Pengu used to like tweet some like there was like some image that some fan created about like me and Pengu like catching hands. I don't know, like, but Pengu was also hyping me up. So I was thinking, bro, that's a one lifetime opportunity, like. And then I even mocked Liquid because Liquid was like a big rival for us. Because back then there was like this. I guess today it doesn't happen anymore because today I think everybody already knows the meta. But back then we were like creating the meta combined, I think, like with FaZe, like the way of playing the game, split theory and stuff. And Team Liquid back then they had no idea how to play the game. So like we used to play against them and we used to beat them very often because they just had no idea what was happening in the map. And they used to just say, "Oh, these guys are just crazy at playing. They have like they're just like running around, like." And then so I always used to like trash talk them. Even on the Mexico Major, there's a clip of me screaming to them like, "You guys have no idea what is happening in the map," during the semifinal. And I guess when they tried to buy me, and we had like this beef, and I was already pretty much like agreed on going to G2. I even replied to their tweet saying, I think like back then their analyst tweeted something like they are trying to build a new dynasty, and then I retweeted saying to build a dynasty you first need to win a tier S title, and then like got like thousands of likes. Liquid's manager after that he responded to my tweet saying, Team Liquid's doors will always be close to you from now on. Like he got really mad about my tweet,
Wow.
and then like after that like there was no conversation about going to Liquid.
Wow. Well, okay, so I actually had no idea about that. I remember hearing those rumors though, and being like, I actually think if you would have went to Liquid, maybe we'd be talking about Nesk having a major or so, because the way they were playing the game seemed kind of outdated for quite a while, and it seems like they were really never
Yeah.
able to catch up. So I mean, the big three right there would have been, they would have maybe been moving a little bit more than they were. That's for sure.
Yeah.
Um,
I mean,
I
I mean, yeah, you
got
can speak. I was gonna say like I think they started to do better on tournaments when Lagones joined them because Lagones was my
yes,
teammate on Team One, and so we
yes.
used to like share the same meta, like how to think about the game. And then Lagones joined them, and then they went to like 2 grand finals, I think, that they lost, right? So they were like a more competitive team after that.
Yep. Yeah, now we got Lagones in NA, thank God.
Yeah.
Catching us up. He's the GOAT.
Kyle, I'm kind of surprised that you didn't hear. I mean, I guess this is maybe a difference between like the players and the people that are involved in like the playing capacity, and then like the casters, because I had actually heard a lot about Team One and Alem4o in particular before we went to Mexico. Like I had heard those rumors that he might jump to a big Brazilian org, but I'd also heard that Team One was likely going to split up after the Mexico major, and that basically Team One were playing for the team to get picked up. Right? I mean, this happens in every single region. I guess every region is kind of split into like the 4 or 5 top teams, and then everybody else is kind of like a feeder org. You know, in North America, Flipside used to be that in a lot of different esports. Obviously, in Rainbow Six, Flipside was actually quite good. But like, let's use Black Dragons as an example. Black Dragons has been around forever. In the early days of Siege, they were one of the most well-funded and most notable teams. But over time, as bigger orgs started to come in and start to spend more money, Black Dragons went back to pretty much where they are, which is like their budget's not particularly high. They're not a globally recognized brand like a FaZe Clan or a Team Liquid. They're a pretty solid like B tier org. There's nothing wrong with it. I like Black Dragons quite a lot. But financially and like historically, Black Dragons will accumulate pretty good players, and then when they place well enough, they'll sell those players.
Yeah.
And this is something that happens in a lot of esports. It's not a Rainbow Six phenomenon, and it also happens in traditional sports too. I mean, look at baseball, for crying out loud. There's a lot of baseball teams where basically all you do is you're basically just like a farm for an up and coming team, and then you sell all your stuff at the deadline. So it's like, I get it, but it's like Team One as an org was very solidly like below the big dogs. So the consensus that I had heard was that, well, after this run in Mexico, that whole team's going to blow up because there's a lot of good players on the roster, but it is kind of an odd roster, and they're all going to go somewhere else. And that's ultimately what ended up happening. And it was funny because we talk about like Furia doing this one last dance and like Nesk doing his one last dance. The first one last dance I ever heard of was actually Team One's in Mexico. I was like, they're going to go on a crazy run. Look at the group that they're in. They're probably going to make it out of their group. Maybe, maybe not. Depending on how deep they go into the playoffs, probably not very deep, because at the time, Brazil wasn't really that good. They weren't anywhere near as good as they ended up being a year later. It was like, oh, EU is probably going to dominate the Mexico major. However, Team One does is great. And then those players are going to go off and find other pastures. That's what I'd heard going into Mexico. And I also think it is worth noting that Mexico was probably when people were like, oh shit, Brazil is like the real deal here. Because Brazilian dominance didn't really kick in, I want to say, until around the time that W7M started to pick up steam as an entire team. I feel like shortly after Mexico, when W7M started to go real crazy and people saw the way that they changed the game on defense, that's when people were like, oh my gosh, Brazil's actually really good. I still feel like, I mean, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe you guys have a different perspective than me. And of course, we can revisit this if you don't want to talk about it right now. But I don't think Brazil got anywhere near the respect that it gets now around the time of the Mexico major. I feel like people slept on the FaZe clans of the time. FaZe clan wasn't particularly good at that time. It was mostly Liquid and Nip. Nip had consistency issues. Team Liquid can't win anything to save their lives. Like, that was basically the landscape of Brazil back then. At least that's what I think. Maybe I'm misremembering, but that was mostly how we talked about the region and how most people seemed to see the region at the time. I don't know if either of you guys agree or disagree.
I mean, I think back then, like FaZe didn't qualify for the Mexico major, so I
No.
guess people kind of like forgot about them. But they got third on SI, right, Paris? They lost to Liquid on semifinal, I think.
Was it?
I think they got third. So FaZe got third on Paris, didn't make Mexico, and won Sweden right after.
Yeah.
And then they ending up on Sweden SI losing to TSM, which was the winner. So you can argue that FaZe was a very, very top tier team, right? Top 3 SI, Paris, then winning Sweden Major, and losing to TSM, the SI winner on the Sweden SI.
You have it backwards. They finished third at the Sweden SI in 2022.
And
The 2021 SI that Nip won, the all Brazilian final, FaZe technically finished tied for 5th, 6th, because they lost to Liquid in the lower bracket quarters. Then it was TSM Liquid. Then it was MIBR. Then it was Nip Liquid.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
So you have like a
It was
Team
still a
Liquid.
decent run.
Yeah, I mean, you have a NIP. I think NIP was like I think they got like very like it was unlucky for them because when they were the best team in the world, there was COVID and there was no international tournaments. But they got second on the SI that Space Station one, and arguably they could have won that final. the last map, I think they were winning Clubhouse like what 3-1, maybe like in the SSG came back. So okay, they got second on that SI, and then they were the best team in the world, and they won the next SI. But there was no international tournaments during that year, so I guess
Yeah.
like nobody really knew how good they were. But back in Brazil, we knew how good they were, and they were already like kind of like playing like the split meta, and like so everybody was playing like the 20 seconds meta with the Goyos and like playing for wasting time, and like so when you attack, you also play to get clear those utilities and like structured, like towards the map. And NIP was not playing like that. So NIP was like already breaking the meta, but that was COVID, so nobody could see that internationally. But they ended up winning SI, and Liquid got second. Liquid got second, but I don't think Liquid was good back then. I think NIP was good, FaZe was good, getting fifth on Paris and then like winning Sweden Major and then getting third on Sweden SI. So I think like NIP, FaZe were really good. Team One also like we won Mexico and like made the quarterfinals of Sweden. But these three top teams, I would say, and then like NA came on top, TSM won SI, then Charlotte Major, DZ won, then Berlin Major won, Rogue won. So I guess Brazil kind of like went down the spotlights on 2022, right? Because NA won SI one major, and then Europe won another major, and then the next SI we won on G2. So Brazil was good at 2021, and then went down on the spotlight during 2022, and then came back with W7M in 2023.
It's I also think part of it is just a lack of connection that North America has to the region. I don't know. It is a bit of a shame that you weren't able to make it for the Philippox show a couple weeks ago, because we talked about this, or well, I talked about this, how Brazil kind of lives in a different world, because up until very recently, most social media platforms did not know how to properly translate Brazilian Portuguese. So you'd see like it would translate like Portuguese. So you would try to read what the Brazilians are saying, and it was just indecipherable. And you'd be like, "This is not a language. This doesn't make any sense." When you try to translate it, you're like, "This is wrong." And it's just it's very hard, right? Like if you're in North America and all you speak is English or Spanish, or if you're in Europe and you have like a grasp of English but it's not particularly strong, and then you go on Twitter and you try to see like, oh, like what's FaZe Clan up to, and then you see that they only tweet in Portuguese. And you're like, oh, okay, like what does the Brazilian Portuguese translate to? And I have no idea what they're saying. Up until recently, now the translation has improved quite significantly, and I will give one of the rare instances where I think Twitter's actually gotten better over the last couple of years. It's a lot easier to understand it, but I can also understand why like people who follow esports don't want a portion of like their social media feed in a different language. Like it's tough, and I'll even say like, I used to follow like every Korean team, every Japanese team, like, and I would just think there'd be a part of the day where everybody would be sleeping except for the people like in Asia, just based on time zones, and my whole Twitter feed would just be in another language. And it's like, there's nothing wrong with that, but it's just, I can understand why the casual fan would be like, oh, I don't really want to do that. And all this stuff is happening in Brazil, and people can't understand it because of the translation, and it's hard to follow. And then a lot of the players don't speak English, and there's no real like outreach, which is like, we tried to do that with 6on6 a few times, but I mean, a lot of Brazilians, like a lot of other players who speak other languages, are quite reluctant to come on, because if your English isn't very strong, you feel maybe you feel embarrassed, maybe you feel like you're going to say something wrong, etc. So it's like, it's important to shine that light. And I'm finally glad that after, I've liked Brazil basically since my first event ever, when I stood on the stage in Sao Paulo, completely decked out in Black Dragons gear, by the way. I'm very glad that Brazil is starting to get its flowers, but I think your point about NIP kind of being robbed of all the opportunities because of COVID is spot on. Like I think NIP and SSG had the juice for a couple of years. I think that could have been quite the rivalry, and I think there were a lot of teams who saw that COVID kind of cut their chances short, and it sucks, right? It sucks when things outside of your control damage your career, damage your potential earnings, damage your potential winnings, all that jazz. So I'm glad that NIP was at least able to win something, but just kind of sucks.
And I mean, like, if you think about it, the first team after Penta like to win 2 SIs in a row was FaZe, like right now, and NIP almost did that like 4-5 years ago. And maybe they could have done what W7M did if there was like international tournaments. Maybe they could have won 2 majors and 1 SI. Like we don't know.
Yeah.
So like people like, then you're gonna talk about like Shaiko, Kamikaze, and like you're not gonna put them on the same bracket as like the FaZe players right now, the Furia players, because they won a lot. But it's just unfair, right? In my eyes, Shaiko and Kamikaze, Pino, like Muzi, they were like at the same level as the current FaZe or the old W7M Furia, and people don't see that, because of the COVID situation. But they could have done what they did, the same thing that the Furia and or FaZe did.
I did like that Nip roster a lot. And I think, when you have Muzi and Pino in their prime, and Julio and Kamikaze in particular have not completely fallen apart yet, that team had everything they needed, right? They had the core of the three, Kamikaze, Shaiko, and Julio, who were together for, oh my God, almost 5 years? Maybe a little bit over 5 years when all was said and done. Kamikaze retired, and now he co-streams pretty much every event. He's there with Raza, and it'll be cool if Neska's at every event moving forward. And then, you've got guys who are in their prime. Shaiko used to be one of the best players in the world, and people didn't give him his flowers enough. Old heads that watch this, and this is where you can sound off in the comments. Old heads will remember the Allied Esports minor where they brought in some casters who'd never worked Rainbow Six before because literally nobody else was available to work it. And there was one guy that they brought in who just kept screaming Shaiko's name every 4 seconds. Kyle, do you remember? Did you watch the Allied Esports minor?
Not a good event. No, not a good event.
Yeah, you participated in it, right?
Yeah, we got smoked by aces.
Yeah. So at least you still have a career. So for people who don't remember, the Allied Esports minor was during the year where Rainbow Six started branching out and doing more minors, and those minors were getting people qualified for the majors. And Allied Esports was held in Vegas, if memory serves correctly. Mm-hmm. I was supposed to work it, but I ended up getting Ubisoft Montreal asked me to work E3, and no offense, but I'm going to E3 over a minor. Like E3 is like a dream for every gamer, so I don't regret that decision at all. So basically, I think it was like just Stokes and Veli worked it, and then everybody else was brand new because all the others were busy. Like Kix, I think, was still in Europe. Blue was also working E3, so there was just like nobody who could do it. And obviously, they didn't want to work with Flynn because, well, he's Flynn. Who blames them? And there was a guy they brought in named Rob who didn't know a thing about the game. And Veli apparently reached out to him and was like, yo, like, I know you don't know the game. Like, let's do some dry runs, blah, blah, blah. And apparently the guy was like, no, I know the game. And it was immediately clear that after like the first 10 minutes of the match that he had no idea what he was doing or what he was saying. And Shaiko was incredible. And Shaiko was pulling off just the most insane shit humanly possible. It was pretty standard stuff for a really good Rainbow Six player, but I guess if you're unfamiliar with the landscape, it seems kind of crazy. And I just remember he would scream all the time, and he would just yell "Shaiko" and just over and over and over again. He started getting memed so bad. Don't quote me on this, but I think after the first day, it was a mutual decision for him to not come back to cast any more of the event. It was like he got his one Shaiko match out there, and then he just never showed up. I honestly don't even know what happened to him. I don't know if he disappeared into the ether, but it was quite. Old heads will remember. So sound off in the comments if you do remember that. But no, I really like that Nip core an awful lot. Why were you never pegged to join Nip? Was it just that the team was full and they had no reason to bring you on?
Yeah, Nip was full. Like they had 5 good players back then, and like there was no spots. Like there were spots available on other teams because like FaZe had like some bad players right there. Like at one time, like Liquid had some bad players as well. But NIP they were the GOATs back then. Also, let's not forget about the tournament before the SI they got second, which was Tokonami, and they couldn't go because of the visa, so they play with not 2 players. And they would definitely have won instead of Navi. I'm sorry, but they would definitely have won that tournament.
I don't know if you remember that one, Kyle, but it's funny because we actually did. Yeah.
This episode's touching like real close. We're talking about COVID. I still think DZ we would have won multiple if we. Go ahead. Tokonami, that's the biggest joke of my career.
Okay, look, I understand the heartbreaking defeat you suffered in Tokonami is not what I was talking about. When I say you remember...
Sorry, go
ahead. Look, no, I get it. I can understand. We're talking about events where you, like, your eyes just glaze over and you black out with rage for, 5-10 seconds. But no, people that remember Tokonami was both FaZe and Nip had problems getting visas.
Yep.
And in typical fashion, the orgs and the teams blamed ESL. And I remember we were I was either doing a bang on or we were doing a 6-on-6. I can't remember. But Mav from FaZe Clan came into chat and basically said, my team is blaming ESL when it's actually my team to blame. And it was funny because Nip, the big issue with Nip, if I remember at the time, was that Julio supposedly went to the wrong consulate. That's what I was told, was that he went to the wrong place to apply for his visa and wasn't able to get it in time because of that. And it's just like, this stuff happens. And if that's true, because I don't want to spread misinformation here, but if that's true, that's a pretty honest mistake. That's the type of thing where it's like, I'm not trying to be rude here, but like maybe asking like 20-year-old kids to like sort out their own visas when, you know, you're a big corporation, maybe isn't the play. Maybe you step in and help a little bit more, you know, like that's, I experienced that with ESL back in 2017. We are in Poland. It is the end of October. The Sao Paulo event, my first event ever, is coming up in 3 weeks. And I Google it and I'm like, oh, I think I need a visa. And then Emzo one day is just like, yeah, by the way, we all need visas if we're going to go. Emzo heartbreakingly didn't even end up working the event, but he was the reason why we all got tipped off to it. I called the Canadian embassy in Poland and they're like, yeah, you're going to have to go to Toronto to get this done. I called the Brazilian embassy in Poland and I was like, can I do it as a Canadian through you? They said, no, just go back to Canada, go do it in Toronto. It's just down the street from me. It's not a big deal. They're like, yeah, you'll have no problem. Just ask for a rush visa, blah, blah, blah. I go to the consulate general's office and they're like, nope, the window to process, like, it's like 3 weeks. You're late. You're not going to make it. Basically die. And I was like, terrific. And then I messaged ESL and they're like, well, we don't know what to do. And I was like, how do you not know what to do? Like, how don't you deal with visas? Aren't you are you a global corporation that has people all over the world? How do you not know how to deal with this? So
I remember back then the Japan visa was a really hard thing to get. That's why we had the problems with the visas for the Brazil, because I think you used to take like 1 month to get the visa. So a lot of players like got. But G2, on the other hand, very good org also on this aspect, because for the Atlanta major, fun story also right there. I have so many fun stories of this game. But for the Atlanta major, my whole team went boot camping in Berlin, and I did not go to boot camp because I had to get my visa. I went to first thing, my manager from G2 told me I should go to my embassy here in Serbia to get my visa for US, to renew the visa because I already had one, but I had to renew. Embassy in Serbia didn't allow me to get the visa. I don't know why. So then G2 booked me a flight to go to São Paulo. And the bootcamp was supposed to be already happening. I had to go to São Paulo to get the visa for US. My visa in São Paulo got denied, and I had to fly to my home city in Brazil, also paid by G2, to go to the embassy in my home city in Brazil so I could get the visa. And then I got the visa like 2 days before the tournament. So my whole team was in Berlin boot camping. Back then, I think it was me, Uno, Jake, Benj, and Doki. They were all in Berlin bootcamp, and I was in Brazil trying to get a visa, practicing like at 7 a.m. with like 300 ping. That was our preparation for the Atlanta major.
We could talk about visa issues all day. I had another one where I should have worked DreamHack Valencia, and I didn't because my temporary residency in Poland was expiring, and I had to get it renewed. So I had to fly in the middle of the season. I had to fly from Poland back to Toronto for like 3 days to go get my passport. But the thing to go get my passport submitted for the temporary visa. But the thing that they don't understand, or residency, was that when you do that, you have to surrender your passport, and it's for an indeterminate amount of time. So they're literally just like, yeah, you have to give us your passport. It can take up to like 2 weeks. And I'm like, 2 weeks? And they're like, yeah, but like business weeks. Like, so that could be a while. And it's just like, oh. So ESL's messaging me and they're like, okay, like, when are we booking your return flight? When are we booking your return flight? And I was like, I have no fucking idea. Like, it's basically like they will call me and tell me the passport is ready that day. And I guess I will just tell you that I can fly out as of the next day. And it sucks, obviously, operating under these things, but it should stand to reason that the world has not caught up yet to like esports as a real thing. I remember prior to getting my full O1 visa, when I had some other paperwork that I was traveling with, the people at the border in the US would always be like, you're a what?
Yeah.
And I'd be like, I'm like a broadcaster for like video games. And they're like poker?
I mean,
and I'm like,
I think it was the same issue that happened to me with all the embassies refusing my visa, because I was telling them what I was going to do in the US, and the guy who was in front of me didn't know what I was saying. So he just denied my visa 2 times.
I almost got rejected for the Atlantic City major because I had all the right paperwork and everything, and I was coming through, and the guy's like, "So you're working?" And I was like, "Yeah." I was like, "It's a work event." I was like, "I'm not technically getting paid for it because that's not how my contract works. I get paid no matter what I would do because back our old ESL contracts where we just got paid for the month, irrespective of how much we worked." So I was like, technically, I'm working the event, but I'm not getting paid. And I was like, but it still falls under the paperwork that ESL had submitted. And the guy's like, well, it sounds like you work in media. And I was like, I do not work in media. And he's like, well, you need a media badge. And I was like, I don't have a media badge. I don't like, that's like, I'm part of like a crew that's working on it. Like, if anything, like,
Yeah.
and he's like, well, you need a badge. And I was like, well, the badge is at the event. I was like, why would I have a badge ahead of time? I was like, I have a badge to get into the venue, but it's at the event. And then he
Yeah.
pulled me aside and he's like, go into like immigration. So I got like sent into like a detention room. And
That's
then
crazy.
I sat there for like 45 minutes and I'm like, am I going to miss my flight? Am I going to miss my flight? And the guy just basically came out and he was just like, to be completely honest with you, he's like, we've never really dealt with people who have your job. So we don't really know what to do with it. And I was like, and then he just stamped everything and he's like, all right. He's like, he goes, in the future, just don't say you're working. And he's like, bye bye. And I was like, all right, well, I guess just in the future, I will lie then. Thank you, immigration officer. I will. I mean, did you lie? Yeah, but the immigration officer told me to. So, I mean, like,
Hey,
I also had like some crazy visa issues also when I came to G2 because it took like 1 year to get my visa, and then when my visa was ready, I was talking to the G2 Esports directors because he was like dealing with my visa, and then we got the visa. The visa was approved, so I had to go from Porto Alegre to São Paulo, and then I would get my passport that I already left there before, and I would get my passport in São Paulo embassy, and then go straight to Europe, right? But then the embassy sent my passport to my home city, and I was already in São Paulo. So I had to catch the flight to go to Europe, and I had no passport. So G2, I don't know how they managed to do that, but they spoke to someone on the embassy, and they found out a way to give me a urgent passport that is used only in case of emergencies, like when
yeah.
you have to go to a funeral or like a wedding. I don't know, but like is used only in case of emergency. I got like a urgent passport, and then I could get the flight to go to Germany. So it was also a crazy story.
You can do
Right?
that. You can do that, I think, in most countries where you just go to your embassy and they'll issue like a same day, like emergency passport that I think is
Yeah.
only valid for like a short period of time. I think it's only valid
Yeah.
for like a week or 2 weeks or something like that. Just in case. I've had a couple friends that they've like lost their passports while they've been traveling and then they just go get it and they basically just fly
Yeah,
home
yeah.
and then they have to go through the process of getting a new one. It's like my passport, I put a bag on a desk in a hotel when I was staying in Chicago and my passport fell out of one of the open pockets on my bag and it fell down behind, like, you know, hotels have those big like units that the TVs sit on, like those huge. So I put my bag on that like unit next to the TV, and I guess my bag fell over, and my passport fell out of one of the open pockets. I ripped that hotel room apart for like an hour and a half trying to find this. I was so panicked, and then finally I ended up seeing it behind the desk. But it's like I've been afraid of a couple things in my life, but I have never felt fear quite like that. I will be
Yeah,
completely honest with you.
it's
That was a
tough.
level of fear I did not think I would
It's
ever
tough.
feel. So for people that travel and have issues with passports or identification, like, I feel you. I feel you.
yeah.
So perhaps the most noteworthy early part of your career was that Mexico Major run. You already referenced it earlier in the show, which was the CAG matchup, which we will get to. But first, let's talk about Mexico. You qualify for Mexico. You get to play on land. You get to fly to Mexico City. I mean, I suppose this is a question that gets asked a lot, and it's kind of a low stakes question, a very low hanging fruit question. But like, what was going through your mind? How did it feel when you were like, I'm actually going to get to go do this in Mexico? Obviously, you've already done it in SI, but I don't know. Do you feel like SI was a little different from Mexico? Did it feel the same for you? Maybe it felt different for me because I wasn't in SI, but it was like Mexico felt like, okay, things are starting to come back to normal. Whereas I
Yeah.
feel like SI was like, you're still in prison.
Yeah, I mean, yes, I agree. Two things. SI Paris was my first time in Europe, so for me it was like magical, even though we couldn't do anything because of COVID.
True.
But then Mexico was way different, and in my opinion, it was the best event ever on Siege. Though the ones that I went, like my opinion was the best one. Maybe I'm biased because I won a tournament, but like was like during COVID, but everyone at the hotel was like got checked up for the COVID, and everybody was free finally. So we were like out of the COVID world, everybody was hanging out together at the hotel. There was like this rooftop lounge where every single pro player was at the lounge every night playing ping pong. Joystick was drinking vodka in one hand, playing ping pong on the other hand. They put the games on the TVs, and there was like a bunch of couches. So whoever wants to go watch the games there, you could go sit there and watch. There was like a bar on the rooftop, so people was also like drinking when they didn't have like any games on the next day. Pool on the rooftop was like awesome vibes, and it was the first time everybody was hanging out after COVID. But it was like during COVID, so I guess people couldn't go out on their cities, but we could go out there, like enjoy like together at the hotel because we were like COVID free, right? We did all the tests and stuff, so I guess it was fine. It was nice. I met like a lot of friends. I made a lot of friends. I got really close to like Folds, the SSG boys, Rampy, that tournament. We used to play ping pong all the time. So it was very fun. And we went to Mexico very confident to win, actually. We were underdogs, but in our minds, we went there to win because we had to play the Elite Six in Brazil. It was like the tournament to qualify for the major, remember? So after BR6, there was the South American League with all the Mexican teams and Argentina teams, and the top 4 teams would go to the major. And then we got second. We lost to NIP on the final, and it was a tough game. And in our eyes, okay, we went close with NIP, which is the best team in the world. They just won Paris, so maybe we have a chance to win the major, right? We just got a good game against NIP. Yeah, like we're a very good team. We are here to like compete for a title. But of course, in the eyes of everyone, we were underdogs. Our group was hard. We got BDS with Prime Shaiko.
Yep.
We had Sonics back then with like Rex, and now is top tier player on an A, and like Grixer, also a very good player.
That was Prime Super.
Prime Super as well.
Yeah.
And first game we lost to Sonics. I think I dropped a 20 bomb or line 19 bomb. We lost 8-6, if I'm correct, on Consulate. So we lost first game to Sonics. Then we lost to BDS on Coastline. I think you lost to BDS. We lost to BDS Coastline 7-5. Also close game, I think, or 7-4, something like this. And then and then we lost to CAG 7-2 on Oregon.
Yeah.
And like, bro, back then, I'm not even kidding, I was like good. Like every single game, I would drop like 10 kills more every game. I never went like 2-9, like 0-8 in a game. Never. That game against Cyclops, I went like 2-9, I think. And it was the first match of my career that I went 2-9. And I was like, wow, what is happening here?
Big game.
Bro, they were like doing stuff that I'd never seen before. Like there was like Ying shotgun rappelling on Kids Rappel in Oregon, and like doing some crazy shit. And I was like, bro, these guys are the best team in the world. Like I never faced anything like this in my entire Siege life. I'm not used to this. So it was the first time I ever went like 2-9 in the game. And I remember like I was very confident on Oregon because we used to ban the smoke on the map to play Abuse the Ela, and we were like one of the few teams that were doing that back then. We started doing this against Furia on the BR6 to counter them because Miracle was like main smoke, and the smoke's really a strong op on Oregon back in the days. So back then, when you ban an operator, both teams cannot play the operator. So we used to ban smoke and abuse Ela shotgun, and I was the Ela shotgun. And we did this against Furia on the stage in Brazil. I broke the record, I think. The rating record on Oregon is mine. I went 19-2 on the Oregon against Furia on that stage. And we were playing the same shred against Cyclops at the major. So previous game I went 19-2, broke the rating record on Oregon, and now I'm playing Cyclops, a random APAC team. We got destroyed them. I went 2-9, and I had no idea what was going on. And then we were 0-3 on the group stages. Okay, we are grouped, right? Like, I was so upset. And then we start winning. Then I think we beat Sonics. I don't remember what the map was then or what the score was, but then we beat BDS on Coastline again, I think. If I'm not wrong, I think we played Coastline again against BDS, and then we won.
Coastline, you won, and then
7-5.
both of them 7-5.
Yeah.
Yeah, Sonics, I don't remember the map we played. I think Villa, maybe?
Yeah, nice. It was Villa.
Villa, okay, Villa. And then the last match was against Cyclops, and then it was we couldn't lose more than 2 rounds, and then it was the tiebreak match, and all the magic happened. And in my eyes, they were the toughest team to beat. They were insane.
So for people who didn't watch the Mexico Major, it was a wild event. And obviously, for me, it stands out for a number of reasons. There's a lot of reasons why I think back very fondly on it. Obviously, I like Mexico. It was a cool place. Mexico City was cool, even though we couldn't really see much of it. Karl, you touched on how cool the vibes were. I still remember that video of, I think it was somebody broke one of the machines or something.
Doki.
Yeah, Doki broke the
Doki,
machine.
Nave, and one more guy from Navy. They broke the machine of the basketball in the fucking game room in the hotel.
Look, I'm an adult, and I like to think I'm pretty mature, but there's just something about like needless destruction of property that just is like kind of funny, and maybe I'm a child in that regard, but like I can watch
Yeah,
videos of
I
people
agree.
throwing shit off of buildings and just watching it explode when it hits the ground all day. It's just something funny about it. I don't know. Anyway, so I have a lot of fond memories about the Mexico Major, but the thing that will stand out the most for a lot of people was that tiebreaker game. So basically, the way that it worked was, in order to make it out of your group and make it into the next stage of the event, you had to, there's like so many things. Obviously, it's like standings wise. Your group, which is Group A, was really, really quite close, and because of that, you and CAG were fighting for that last spot. And it was a gripping affair, but because of the way that you guys had played each other and because of the tiebreaker being what it was, basically every single thing aligned so that if CAG won 2 rounds in their final matchup and you guys won, you would be tied in every single category. There would be no way, using the existing rule book, for them to determine which team was better. Every tiebreaker was tied itself. So the
That's
only
insane, bro.
fair way to resolve it was to just play again. And the winner of that match went on into the playoffs. And it was the most absurd set of circumstances, because I remember we saw this coming a little bit in advance, where some of our stats guys were like, there's a possibility this happens. And then as the day goes on, it starts getting more and more likely. And they're like, guys, nightmare scenarios approaching. Like, all we need in this final game is, like, if it's 7-2, if it's 7-2 team 1, there's nothing we can do. Like 7-3, like if CAG wins 3 rounds, nope, we're good. If CAG wins, nope, we're good. Like if it's like 7-1, we're good. If it's 7-2, we're fucked. We have no way to break the tie. And then, as fate would have it, it's a 7-2
Yeah,
affair, and we're
and-
like, well,
and-
immediately you got to play map
Bro,
2, I guess.
No, and it was crazy because, like, for all the Siege fans, like, there's a lot of storylines that most people like don't pay attention, but like so many crazy things. Like, okay, I think we were winning 2-0, and then they made 2 rounds, and then we're like, okay, fuck, we can't lose a single more round. We need to win 5 rounds in a row. And then there was like Nasking Clutch 1v3. And by the way, for those who don't know, there was a thing back in the days that you could drop shot as a Monty, and nobody knew that
Yeah.
until Mexico Major, when a player called Anintum, he starts drop shotting with Monty. Like, we were like, what the fuck is this? We've never seen this before. And then, like, there's Naskin clutching against Anintum on the Monty, drop shotting like crazy. Like, so many different stuff happened this major. Like, I wasn't familiar with, like, Cyclops playstyle, so I got very surprised at playing that, you know. I learned how to play Monty better, learning from Anintu after that game. So I improved my Monty plays, copying Anintu. And back then, nobody else played Monty. Like, to be a good shoot player, it was like hard back then. It was not easy as it is today. Not everybody plays shoots. So I improved my Monty game, copying an into, and I became a friend of him because I was just glazing him all the time, saying, "You're the best multiplayer I ever play against." And yeah, bro, Nasking Clash 1v3, we won the game, tie break, and then we won the next match.
And then the rest is history. And then you go into the top 8, you go into the playoffs, and again, people continue to look down on Team 1's success. Of course, the Mexico Major also gave us what might be the best consulate still of all time. I don't know if we hold it in that regard. That Empire versus BDS consulate, that was an unbelievable matchup. And I know that that's like the map that I feel a lot of people remember from that event. But you go into the grand finals, and it was a dogfight. But you said this, and I'm going to press you on this. When you beat CAG, you said we're winning the whole thing. Did you honestly believe that?
Yeah, like I honestly believe that, and like it's not rational, right? Like looking from this perspective right now, like me looking to Karl back then. Okay, like this guy is delusional. He just beat Kag, and he's saying he's gonna win the whole thing. But on my own perspective, being there at the moment, and as I said, like all those things that happened, like I never did such a bad game, like 2-9, like. The way they played the game, I was surprised. I couldn't understand what they were doing during the rounds, so I didn't know how to react. In my opinion, it was the hardest game. We can play like these top tier teams like DZ, Liquid, Empire on the final, and they are arguably better teams than CAG. But when you're playing the round, especially back then, the meta was easier. You can tell where are all the 5 positions of the attacker on the first 10 seconds of the round. Especially if you're playing against Liquid, DZ, and Empire, which has like similar playstyle. So like the round starts, okay guys, is this push? We know where all the 5 players are. We know how to play against. Okay, we know what to do. If they beat us because they're better, fair enough. It's gonna be a good match. But against Cyclops, the round starts and you have no idea what is happening. So that was my point of view back then. So when we beat them and like all the adrenaline that I got from that game made me genuinely believe with all the confidence that, okay, we are winning, like we're winning the tournament. But of course, we ended up playing better teams after that.
Yeah.
I think that makes a lot of sense too, because you've even asked that question on some of the other when we had some other guests. Noah's always said there's always a game like after that they knew they would win, like EWC or Spirits or Beast Coast. Myself with Charlotte, like there's just something when you're a competitor, it's like one of those games. It's just like the confidence like clicks. There's just something in there that it's like that was the hardest game we're gonna play. We are winning this fucking.
What was your Charlotte game that you said that you thought that?
Well, I mean, it was after the group because we actually smoked everybody in our group, G2 included.
Yeah.
and I will say, going into that event, we lost, and Troy probably still has the screenshot. I think we lost 17 scrims in a row, 17 max. On our whiteboard, I just kept I literally couldn't get the green out. I had green for W for wins, and I had a red marker for losses. I even purposely were scheduling T3 scrims to try to get us out of this rut and get us a win. And we were getting smoked going into Charlotte. So, like,
that's crazy.
That was the worst boot camp of all time. And then we just somehow win the group. And we're like, oh, wait a second. We're nasty.
That's actually crazy, bro. Because, like, y'all have, like, different stories. Like, it's good to ending up, like, losing a lot of scrims because you improve from losing. If you just win every scrim, then you don't improve. You don't know what you have to fix. But it's also like a confidence boost. If you win a lot of scrims on bootcamp, then you go to a tournament thinking you're the best team there, right?
No, 100%. And we actually learned that the hard way too during Brazil. SI, it was our first time boot camping in Brazil, and we were playing T2 Brazilian teams.
Wow.
whoever, and we were getting smoked. We were like, holy cow, Brazil is disgusting. Like, and I mean, I've already known that. Like, I've scrimmed Brazil many times.
You were so early on the Brazil train, dude.
Yeah, no, I mean, Astro is my favorite player of all time. Like, early phase clan, Gohan Astro. Yeah, I mean, I look up to those guys definitely. But no, that boot camp, we learned our first week. We learned so much information just in 1 week, and then the next week things started to click. We started to learn like different theories. We started to learn like drone tech and sacking your drones and getting all the information possible. Like, there was so much we learned in that 1 week. But yeah, definitely. You definitely kind of want a boot camp, in my opinion, where you kind of get smoked and you have a little bit of a learning period.
Yeah. And you also probably practiced a lot of W7M back then because they refused to go to play the SI quals to build the roster with Volps, Hertz, Casey to end up doing what they did after, right? They didn't play the SI quals because they couldn't build that roster if they played the SI quals. So you probably guys boot camp with them because they didn't took any vacation that time off, like during the summer there before the major.
I for people that are not aware of some of Mint's history here, back when you were on that old F3 roster and onwards, you were one of the few teams that used to scrim Brazilian teams, and you would work some of the things you learned from the region into your style of play. And I mean, you were consistently like a top 3 team in NA. I know that it was NA was kind of weird where it was like that EG core team tended to be the best, and then you would battle with like the Rogue, Vertical Gaming, whatever the hell they were called, and then obviously the
OGs, bro. Wow.
Yeah. And then it was like Space Station started to be on a bit of an upswing when they were like Bittersweet and then like Most Wanted and all those different iterations. But you guys were way ahead of the curve by, going and scrimming with Brazilian teams. So you had a pretty good read on it. And honestly, there were times where when I was doing research and there weren't a lot of Brazilian players that spoke English, I would actually reach out to some of you guys for like scouting reports on Brazil because it helped us just understand a region that was a little bit out of reach. So It is a bit funny that with all the time you spent with Brazil, you still found them, Kyle, to be a bit of an Achilles heel here. And of course, you draw Team One in the quarterfinals of Mexico, and you said earlier on the show, anybody but a Brazilian team, and well,
Here we are.
Here we are. I mean, to be fair, though, and this is just complete ego speaking here. I'm sure Alemau's got a different perspective on this, of course. He mentioned the rooftop lounge, aka where the team contracted COVID. The whole team comes down with COVID after our damn Juan Kia match, which those guys were beasts, and I don't know how we were able to beat them. The whole team comes down with COVID. Hyper is coughing up a storm, could barely get out of bed. BC, our IGL, couldn't stop coughing too, like every round. Eclipse, I thought I was literally gonna have to sub in, and like I just retired. This is my first event coaching. The last thing I wanted to do was play the game. Like I was so sick of it. We get Team One, the whole team's coughing up. Like I knew we lost like 2 rounds in. You guys again, you said it. You knew everything that was coming because that's how we played. But
Yeah.
the thing that it usually worked because like we're dialed and Hyper is shooting. Like Hyper was one of the best players in the world at that time. You know what I mean? And like everyone was 50%, if that, to the point where like we're asking me to sub in. It was bad. It was real. And you guys were also coming off emotional high confidence after that CAG game, which I don't want to take away of at all, because like you guys, again, you knew you were winning the fucking event right there. You were going to run us over no matter what.
Yeah, I mean, it was a fair way of playing the game as well. Like you can see teams that still play the same way until like recent days. Like VP made like top 3 SI in São Paulo playing the same structure way. Like after like 2-3 years after Mexico, like in São Paulo.
Yep.
So like you see, even FaZe adapts a lot, but even they play like kind of like like very structured, like repeating a lot of stuff. So like you see those play styles always like on top, anyways. But like, was Troy in DZ in the Mexico Major?
No. So Troy was not, and I don't think anyone really knows this. So Troy was actually not, but he was already signed to be coming into the team. BC was already going to be stepping back, and I was actually working with Troy on our off days, and Troy was helping me like counter strat you guys.
And
counter strat Diamond Kia the day before and different things like that.
And you guys kind of also like shut down Diamond Kia because they ended up being very famous on the next major, which was Sweden, that they almost beat FaZe. And you guys kind of like shut down their shine. If they beat you guys, maybe they would have like became even more like a greater name, maybe. But you guys shut down them before they could do that.
Yeah, they were able to like. I feel like they were beating every single team, but like when they kept going against us, they were kind of easy to read. Like it was always Rin kind of hitting some kind of backstab, so we learned really early to get like Vision or Echo for the backstabs, and then just like power that player. But they turned out to be.
Was it was the FaZe Diamond Kia game Berlin, the Oregon match, or was that Javla?
Was Javla, was Sweden. It was
the Oregon game. It was the Oregon game where it was literally a 1v1 in the very final round. And Souls clutched, right?
Yeah.
There are moments, as an aside.
Sweden Major that I beat DZ twice on the group stages.
We were awful. We did not deserve to be there.
There's just a small aside here. There are moments as a caster where, I've been really fortunate to be able to lend my voice to a lot of really cool moments in this game, but there are selfishly moments where I'm like, I wish I had that one. And that FaZe Diamond Kia end is one of those where I'm like, damn. I was like, it was green with envy. It was a great call. Des did an excellent job with it, but I was just like, man.
And also like back then, like this game is also nice to talk about because like on Mexico Major, like I guess like in Team 1, we were developing like all the attack split theory, like Villa, for example, like the 2-1-2, like the classic Villa split after that everybody was doing. But like for defense, we're the only teams, maybe even in Mexico, I think we're the only team who are doing like coordinate 5-man retakes, like like knowing what everywhere, because everyone used to play so structured. Like I'm gonna give you an example, like Consulate, okay, the old Teller's archives half clear, the admin half clear. You'd have like one guy printer holding the flag flank, one guy on the single wall admin holding the meeting flank, and then one guy visa below the camera holding the Teller's highway flank, one planting, and then the other guy holding the vertical to the stairs. That was like the default execute every team used to do. So we had like a set of 5-man retake, which one guy would distract the guy flag, one guy would distract the guy on the half wall admin, one guy would push like the Teller's highway to distract the guy on the camera, one guy would push down the stairs to distract the guy on the vert, and then the fifth guy would end up coming up and killing the plant. So like we were like the first team to kind of like play like this on defense, and then FaZe on this round, the round that Souls won the 1v1, this was like the next major in Sweden. It was, I think, 7-7, and the cameraman called the 5-man retake into trophy that round. As soon as IMONKIA took trophy, they did like a 5-man retake with the C4 over the pit wall, and the refrags happened over and over, and ended up on the clutch of Souls. But that's how like the meta was being played, and how us and FaZe were like developing these new ways of playing the game that nobody else was back then.
Yeah.
See, that's curious to me. This is probably more of a me question. North America, I get my notepad out here. Where did this split theory come from, though? Like, who's the father of it? Who brought it over? Like, was anyone watching CS:GO or some other stuff, or like, where are we getting this idea in Siege? Because I still don't know. I just hear split theory, split theory, split theory.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it was like I think some teams in Brazil, like I think MyBR with like Reduct and Bodega, they used to play more like that. I don't know until what point of the theory they went further, like to develop something.
Yeah.
But they used to play like the split setup, like pushing from different areas of the map. I don't know how much further they developed the theory, but also like NIP, they started doing like the Villa like 2-1-2 split to study to master one like 90 or Wolf window, to split the map in two and like find the gap there in the middle. But like in Team 1, I was the one that actually like was watching the VOD between NIP and FaZe, and I rewatched that Villa like the whole afternoon, trying to understand how they were playing. Because back then teams either would do a master push or a study push, and then they were playing like that, and I was not understanding how it was working. So I watched and rewatched that game over and over, and then I understood, okay, this attacker here is pulling up this defender. He's grabbing his attention. The other attacker is pulling this defender's attention. The other two on the back on Master are pulling those two. And the one in between is going to find a gap either in one place, that is the fifth defender, or in the other place. You just need to drone and see where the guy is. And then he takes the other gap. So like, I kind of like start like developing an actual theory about like thinking about, okay, coastline, to defend the kitchen bomb site on coastline. So one guy is always on site, one sunrise, one office, like the horizontal defense, and then with two guys holding like a home theater on top. So like the attackers would only either go for a top push or like a horizontal push, But if you send like one attacker to each defender to bait, on this scenario, for example, you find a gap on the lobby door. Nobody can hold lobby door. You bait the hatch on home theater and VIP, site window to bait the guy on site, one sunrise, one office, and you just can walk in lobby door and push site and kill the guy on site. So like this theory, I don't know if anyone else developed further than me, but I developed on the early days in Team 1. We ended up winning a major, and then I bring to G2, and we ended up winning SI.
Yeah.
So I don't know if I can call myself the father of the split theory, but I was definitely one of those. And maybe also Ramalho after we FaZe when they won Sweden. That's why I also bring him as a coach so he could help me, because Fabian wasn't really helping me too much on this part of the game. So like I wanted to bring Ramalho.
Yeah, that's on the list.
I wanted to bring Ramalho to help me with that, because I was feeling like overloaded with theory, and I also need to, I don't know, like perform, So yeah, that's the story about split theory.
Wow. Can we timestamp that and send it to all our North American teams? Because we were getting some really good info right there. That was nice. Let's stop playing like some mailboxes doing some structured takes.
Yeah, but now the boring part is that now everybody knows and everybody kind of like understands. So it's just like it's just boring now,
Yeah.
Now it's all about the bans and how do you abuse the operators.
It's funny because we just got an updated list for the NA League, which for those that are curious, where the NA League is today. I mean, you're going to be watching this. Probably going to be watching this on Friday. So you'll likely already know the results of today's NA League and tomorrow's NA League matches. Well, I guess it's not the NA League, technically it's kickoff. But it was funny because some teams submitted roles, and one of the teams said that their player was just mailbox. That's all it said. And one of the people associated with NA who's not as like deep in is like, what the fuck is mailbox? And I was like,
it's spreading. Nice.
It's out there.
That's just
out there.
all
So
North American teams. Especially
all right,
DZ.
so let's go back to the Mexico Major. Let's kind of close this chapter so we can move on and talk about G2 and other stuff, because obviously we want to talk about G2's coaching, because as you've probably seen, your coach at G2 gets a lot of discussion on social media. But first, Mexico. So you beat derailed, obviously a good run begins, and then you make it into the finals. I know we touched on this a little bit, but lay out where the team is going to go here, right? I had heard rumors that you were either going to go to Liquid or you were going to go to G2. I know that people have been talking about this at the Mexico Major. It was kind of an open secret. How was the team treating Mexico? Was it like a, hey guys, like let's win it and then we all just go our separate ways? Was there any chance you all stay together as a team, or did you know for certain you were breaking up? Like what? Just outline every single thing about the roster.
We actually thought, I think the team thought I was gonna go to G2, and maybe like I also considered the possibility, but that was the visa issue that we didn't know if we're gonna figure it out after the Mexico Major. But other than that, the team was gonna stick together. Like KDS always had this issue about like not enjoying playing the game anymore. He even says on interviews nowadays on Face, but he used to have the same problem back in T1. So sometimes he would say like, guys, I'm thinking on like stop playing the game. So we didn't know if like KDS would keep playing the game. The other players didn't have any offers, even though like Gwen's like was a great IGL, like very communicative and leading the team to do stuff in the game. Naskin, don't know how good Naskin used to perform back then, but especially on the playoffs on Mexico Major, he played really good. Like he started the tournament playing really bad, and then like he got MVP of the final or like the semifinal. So Naskin went huge on Mexico Major, but he didn't have any offers. And Levi got the MVP of the Mexico Major. So like, but also no offers for Levi. So we used to stick together, you know. The only question was like if I was gonna leave to G2, if I could get the visa or not. So I ended up not getting the visa, and we just stayed together.
What did you want to do? Did you want to go to G2 right away? Did you want to keep the team together running back? What was your preference?
I was a little bit afraid of going to G2 because like I knew the team was worse. I didn't know that they were like so clueless about the game, but I knew it would be worse because I was at the best team with that back then. I just won the major, you know. I don't want to go. Yeah. So yeah, I think like that was like I didn't want to go, you know, at that point. And also I think how can I say, like my value went increasing over time according to the year, to the negotiations. So at the first, when they wanted me at the first time, I never won anything. Was after SI. I was just like a good rookie. I got rookie of the year, beat them there, come back, great story. But then after Mexico, I won the major. Then my value started increasing, and then like I kept playing good the rest of the year. And at the end of the year, I wanted to join my BR with like Lukid, Faust, Felipox, because I always wanted to play Felipox. Like since we were kids, we were very smart back then, and I knew he was still a great player. So I wanted to play Felipox again. So I even refused going to G2 after the Sweden major. I said, look, I'm not going. Like I have an offer here from my BR. I'm gonna like get paid good here because they receive in dollars. So I guess I'm gonna stay in Brazil, getting good money on a better team. Back then, my BR was better than G2. They got top 3 on Paris SI, top 4, I don't remember. Top 3, right? They're also an IP on the winner bracket final. So my BR was top 3 on SI.
My BR had a good run at SI for 2 back-to-back years.
And I knew like the team would be good. So I told you to honestly, look, I don't want to go. I'm going to maybe go to my BR, you know. And then after that, then they came with a new proposal, and then I ended up accepting the offer to go after SI to G2.
Okay. I do think it's a little funny that you're like, I was reluctant to go to G2. They are a worse team. And then he just answers the question like, why? Like, obviously, like G2 is a big org, and obviously there's more money there. But I always find it funny how different players go about it, where they're like, I'd rather take less money and win. Where some players are like, I've won, I just want money. And it's like, look at KDS. It's another thing that you just said a couple moments ago is you're like, we didn't know if KDS was going to quit. We've been talking about this guy fucking quitting the game for half a decade at this point.
Half a decade, yeah.
This guy's literally clocking in, clocking out.
Yeah. KDS is like, all right, guys, let's get this done in 3 maps. I got other shit to do. All right, you know, like
he turned his webcam off
watching
so
Team
fast
Secret
yesterday.
claw back the Paris SI finals, being like, oh, I'm so fucking sick of this shit.
It's because, bro, there's this meme, bro. As soon as the match ends, you can see always KDS with his backpack already leaving after. Like when bro, suppose like Vita King is doing the interview for the broadcast, you can see KDS with his backpack already going home.
He's already going home.
People like I know that we glamorize this, and it is a really good job. Let's be frank. Like, you know, we don't work a ton. Some of us work more than others. Some of us work less than others. Some of us get paid better than others. But like at the end of the day, this is probably, objectively speaking, the best job I've ever worked. And it's just like, I wouldn't trade it for the world. But for other people, it's a job. Like they don't particularly like it, but they're good at it, and it's something that they can do. So like, do it. It's like you can't glamorize things that you don't like, and it's always funny because even Philippox on the latest episode talked about, you know, KDS never really liked playing this game, and
Yeah.
here we are. Souls also, if you remember, wanted to retire and go to Valorant around the same time.
Yeah. I remember.
And I brought up the Reddit thread from the match that you guys won 7-2 over CAG to send you to the tiebreaker game. And if you go look, it was 4.5 years ago at this point, but if you go find that Reddit thread on the R6 Pro League subreddit, which once again, another call to action here. If you don't follow the Rainbow Six Pro League subreddit, that subreddit really needs more love and it needs more posts. Like if you watch DBNO, you're probably on that subreddit, but we literally have like 10,000 people that watch each episode at minimum. Just go over and join the Rainbow Six Pro League subreddit and like get involved in the conversation. Lots of pros comment on it. I comment on it. A lot of the casters are active. Even if I'm not commenting, I'm reading most days. So it's like, it's nice to be a part of it, and it helps kind of flesh out our scene. But either way, I went and read that Reddit thread. And it's funny because even 4.5 years ago, people are like, oh, the game is so dog shit. But like, you know, the game is dying, but it's so good to see matches like this. And I'm just like, we just live in Groundhog Day. We live the same days over and over and over again. When people, you know, almost half a decade ago are like, the game's in rough shape, it's dying, like who knows what's gonna happen, yada. Like this was one of the rare bright spots, like bull. And it's like, you'd take those comments and literally put, well, I guess maybe not this year, but like maybe like last year, you can go and just put those comments in any point between then and last year. And it's just like, what year am I in? I don't know. So
Yeah.
I just thought that one was funny. But yeah, KDS hitting the game is always a good one. So you want to go to G2. What was your goal here? Was your goal to make as much money as possible? Or you're like, I want a major, who gives a shit moving forward? I mean, everybody's goal is to lift the hammer, right? Do you think you had a better chance of being a world champion with G2?
I mean, I didn't know, you know. I mean, I knew the team was worse. I didn't know how worse it was until I got there, you know. That was the thing, you know. In my eyes, I was gonna make more money. I was gonna be like, I was gonna do something way more meaningful for my career, because I'll be replacing Pengu, the greatest player of all time. I'll be replacing him on the best team of all time, like, you know, like titles wise speaking, like G2, you know, like double SI winner, not back then, but like all the story behind G2, you know, like is the best place to be, you know, if you want to do something meaningful, is in G2. And then like, I guess this life-changing money for me, especially if you compare to Team 1, like complete life-changing. So, you know, I couldn't just stay in Team 1 with the dream of, okay, I want to win the hammer, and I think I have slightly better odds here, you know. And even if I think I have like better odds here because of the better team, this game everybody plays at a high level, like everything changes. Like, so you do like one small thing wrong and you end up losing the match. So it's like, am I gonna change all this big opportunity I have for my career for like a slightly chance maybe to win SI here in Team 1, you know? So
Yeah, I mean, you do end up making that decision then and joining G2, and I think you got a lot of backlash for it, especially from the fans. Something we talked about offline a little bit, but especially from the fans. I see even in pros trying to get at you. I didn't know you guys were all super close. You guys known each other since childhood, but I'm actually curious because I'm not caught up in the Brazilian lore. Like, is this real beef, calling you traitor? Because I see so many fans like, you know, calling it to you or yelling it at you, or is it more banter and people just trying to get into your head?
I mean, people try to get into my head a lot, especially the other pros, right, from Brazil. Like, let's say, like me personally, Karl, I'm friends of a lot of pro players in Brazil, like my dear friends. We go on vacation together, like, and we always have good moments when we are at the events. But my professional entity, Alem4o, he's like the enemy number one of everyone, pretty much. I would say everyone, even the Europeans, everybody hates me. So like, that's my entity. But the part of like me being the traitor, especially in Brazil, it didn't even come from me going to G2. It came after the first major. So I came in G2 after SI, and the first tournament was Charlotte. And in Charlotte, I tweeted something about the ping, because the Brazilians were playing from Mexico because of the visa issue. And I tweeted something about the ping, saying, I think Brazilians are over exaggerating. is as bad to play with high ping as is to play against high ping. Like, especially nowadays on European League, we're playing against Twisted Minds. They have 100 ping.
Yeah.
I hate playing against them because I shoot them, they don't die, then they kill me. Hashun is like flying on my screen, killing me. And we play against W7M on Charlotte Major, and I die behind a wall to Casey spraying with Think LMG 200 bullets on my body. So, like, okay, it's shit conditions you guys are playing in Mexico, fair enough. But I also think it's like kind of unfair to say you guys are on such a big disadvantage. Like, it's a terrible game situation for both teams. The one-legged and the one that is playing against the one-legged, because it's not a good experience to kill Casey on a 200 ping with Think LMG. It's impossible, actually. But, like, it's impossible. I mean, I understand they were in Mexico on terrible conditions, probably like on like some room with no AC, like something bad. But the way they were talking about it was like they were getting robbed, and I don't think it's true. Of course, it's annoying to play, but it's also annoying for us to play against you guys. So I tweeted something like this, and of course, the Brazilians hate it. Not the pros, a little bit. They disagreed with me, especially the ones that were in Mexico. They didn't like it. But the fans, oh my god. Raza stream, the fans, I was Judas. And then the Judas nickname appeared. Was after that, was after Charlotte. Because I commented on the pink situation. And then I became Judas. And then after that, it was not a banter. They really, really hated me back then. And then I think I kind of like cleaned my name a little bit after I won the hammer, because like some of the Brazilian fans kind of like respected me for what I did, you know, like Brazilian player going abroad and winning the hammer. And then I cleaned my name a little bit. A couple of haters became my fans. But yeah, but that was the whole incident about the traitor thing. It was about the comment, the incident on Charlotte Major.
I remember the uproar that the W7M players caused at Charlotte, and it's just like, look, like this will probably fall on deaf ears because I don't think a lot of Brazilians watch our show. I mean, we have a Brazilian audience, but it's not very high. So the people that I'm kind of saying this for probably won't receive it. But I used to do this more. I don't use social media as much these days, so I don't do it as frequently. Also, I just like, that's just not who I want to be on social media, even if I did use social media more frequently. But I used to like call out bad behavior. And it's like, if the community was in like a spot of unrest, I would kind of try to walk in and be like, I don't know, level-headed as best as I could. I don't want to say that and make it seem like I think I'm something I'm not, but it's just like, hey guys, like, let's like calm down. You know, obviously the big one that most people remember is probably the Gohan one, where he like threatened to sue me because of the whole SI thing with the nice Cav play. But Brazilians didn't like that. When W7M was like complaining about the ping and all of that, they were really going off, and they were like attacking players. They were attacking like Faceit staff. Like they were good. It got to be way too much. And like, I understand the frustration. Like, you're playing on W7M. You're an upstart team that a lot of people are sleeping on. You've basically invented a new way to play this game on defense. And you have, I think, that first stage with them, with the W7M roster, they had like the highest defender win rate or something like that, or the highest like opening pick conversion win rate or something. There's some crazy numbers with them. And then it's like Charlotte, a lot of teams, if they got their visa, a lot of teams were like, this team is probably going to win Charlotte. And then obviously they don't make it here, and they have to play on ping, and they're really frustrated about that. And they lashed out on Twitter. And of course, I decided to, I don't want to say like jump into the fray, but I kind of like said my piece about it. And as usual, you get brigaded by Brazilians, and next thing you know, like my entire inbox on Twitter is just Portuguese, and it's like, you know, like whatever. But it's just like, it gets so frustrating because it's like, I like Brazil, I like Brazilian players, I love the Brazilian fans. Every time we've gone to Brazil and I've talked to the fans, they are amazingly kind people. I don't understand what it is with the online social presence that a lot of Brazilian fans have. And it's not just Brazil. I've dealt with it with French fans. I've dealt with it with German fans. I dealt with it a lot with like Arabic fans when I came out about the UAE major and I talked about EWC. So it's just like, it's a tribalism thing, and it happens everywhere. And I mean, I'm sure if I pissed off North Americans, I'd probably see it as well. But it's like, I know what I dealt with as an outsider. I imagine it was infinitely worse for you, given you were one of them.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, but like the most hate comes also from social media. Like in the real
Yeah.
life, people are just different. Like especially on the São Paulo SI, was like 2 years after this, and I had like a whole line of people in the rain waiting to get an autograph and a picture with me, and most of them were coming here and saying, Judas, how are you? You know, like jokingly, you know. But of course, on social media, people tend to go more aggressive. But in real life, I don't believe people are so mean as they are on social media.
Yeah. I also think social media just allows people to just be their worst self.
Yeah,
Right.
with no
Obviously
consequences.
I mean, there's like all that digital ID stuff that's sweeping the nations that's going on, which I think is terrible. I think anonymity is like a bedrock of the internet. Obviously, there's unfortunate parts that come with it, but I don't think everybody should be forced to identify themselves on the internet. But at the same time, it's just like I talked to a couple of the Brazilian fans, and they're like, "Oh, that's just how we are on the internet." And I'm like, "Well, why would you just say like that's how we are? Why do you want to be like that? Like, be better." Like, I don't. I got over 300 DMs after the Gohan thing. 300. I had over
Yeah, that's
300
crazy.
DMs, and a lot of them were like, "Come to Brazil." You wouldn't say that in Brazil. Like, come to Brazil and see what we think of you. And it's like, you're so tough with your fucking one name, bunch of numbers bullshit and fake profile picture. I'm shaking in my boots. Like, just
Yeah.
be normal people. You know. There's nothing about Rainbow Six. There's very few things in life that warrant death threats. Video games are probably like bottom of that list. So like let's get real here, guys. Like let's screw our heads on properly. You didn't give a shit though. I mean, did you give a shit? Did you give a shit that your reputation in Brazil still to this day? I don't know if your reputation in Brazil has ever really fully recovered, right?
Yeah, I don't think so as well. I think he's bad right now. Especially like after like this last year with like also all the Stompn haters and like blowing up on social media, and then the hate gets even bigger, and then Brazilian haters, Raza hates, and now the fans hate. So like, because like Raza is also like Raza is pretty much the big problem of like the haters, because the way Raza reacts to the games, he's a very critic, so he critiques a lot everything.
Yeah.
So like if any player is like what like 3-8, he's gonna pick up on that player and say something bad about that player, and then all of his chats are gonna say something about that player, and then that's gonna like propagate hate. So like
Yeah.
it's not that happens naturally. I'm like my person, Karl, is a friend of Haza, but I know how he is. He's like a streamer character, and I know how me as a like Alem4o am also as like a professional entity. So I understand why he acts the way he does, and he understands why I act the way I do. But that's also a good explanation for like where all the hate comes from. Is also like because of the what he like does on stream as well.
This is actually a really good time to talk about something that's semi-topical. It's hard to discuss other people when you have a platform and not worry about the reverberations and repercussions of that, right? Like we know that as casters that if we are particularly negative towards a certain player, that is going to drive the conversation. I've noticed that things that we say on the broadcast have been picked up and get used on social media, get used on Reddit, get used on like YouTube videos and stuff like that. And we understand that there's like power behind that. And the same here with this podcast. And it is a fun little intersection because speaking of that, we talked about Citizen a couple weeks ago, and we had some of his former teammates and some people who know him on the show and have had times, before. And they've all talked about Citizen because he kind of like you, Karl, is a bit of a lightning rod, right? Like Citizen sneezes and there's 19 people tweeting about it. Like he's one of those players that it inspires a conversation. And I mean, that you're kind of like that too, right? Like everything you do, like you sneeze and there's 4 Reddit posts on it, for crying out loud. Citizen is a hard player to talk about. And when we talked about him and some of his conduct that I saw firsthand at the Mexico Major, which for the record, when I spoke on it, it wasn't specifics. I couldn't remember if he was talking to Kayak or Kanto. The broader point that I was trying to make was that, he was overtly negative after the loss, and it seemed on my end to be a bit extreme. But again, I don't want to get into it anymore because we already talked about it. But it's like Citizen and I actually talked after that episode came out because there were a couple people on the subreddit who, and I appreciate that they do this, by the way. So if you're watching, thank you for doing this. Basically, there are a couple Redditors who will go and they will clip particular parts of the show and they will just upload that clip to the subreddit. Man, I don't know if you've seen this, but it's been great. It's like 3 minutes of Philippox talking about like W7M or something like that. And I think it's great because a lot of people are going to sit down and watch a 2.5 hour long show. They'll watch like a 4-minute clip, yada, yada, yada. Well, of course, there was one of the most popular clips that's been shared in quite some time was the one where Spirits and I talked about Citizen, which was like this great meeting of the minds where it's like the subreddit doesn't really like Citizen. And you got to hear kind of some gossip from me and Spirits about him. And it did just kind of serve as a reminder that even though I don't think the actual topic was particularly negative, and we spent quite a bit of time also praising Citizen, and I've said this many, many times. I like Ben. I have no problems with Citizen. Like, I like him as a person. I quite like casting him. Like, and when we talk about people, the goal on this show is to not throw hate in a particular direction to anybody at all. Like, I'd love to have Citizen on this show and talk to him. So it's like, we don't like, and even when we like kind of are negative about Shaiko being the GOAT or not, it's not a negative thing, but it's, you can't be a public figure and not expect people to talk about you. You know, how we talk about people is really important, but it's like, I know people are going to talk about me as a caster. They're going to talk about me as a streamer. They're going to talk about me on this podcast. That comes with the job. It kind of sucks, but you hope that people are reasonable about it. But somebody like Raza, I obviously don't really know his content all that well because he does it in a language I don't speak, but he seems to be quite animated. And you're not the first person to say that he has caused quite a bit of discomfort for certain people by the way he's talked about them on his stream, with either hate being sent their way, etc. And it just it goes back to what you said. When you have a platform, I do think it is helpful that you use it in as responsible a way as possible. You are never responsible for 100% of your audience. There's always going to be weirdos. There's always going to be freaks. I can say now, hey, like, don't do this. There's always going to be somebody who's going to do it no matter what, just because they're fucking weird people. But I do think it serves as a reminder that there's no real reason to unduly direct hate in somebody's direction, be it you, be it Citizen, etc. So if you are watching this show, I understand it's fun to dunk and meme on people, but just as a solid reminder, we are not here to be gossip merchants. I'm not here to sling dirt. Mint maybe, Mint, he's that kind of guy, but not me. Yeah. So just as a reminder for our audience, and a reminder for people who do podcasts and stuff, just be measured in the way that you talk about others. So if you're Karl, he's a nice guy. Don't send hate Karl's way.
Oh, we'll get there.
Alem4o, the primary enemy of the state.
Alem4o and the photo on the subreddit is genuinely so fucking funny.
Supreme leader of G2.
I'm surprised there hasn't been more like April Fool's stuff. I guess that was the big April Fool's joke, because we are filming this on April Fool's.
I mean, I'm already expecting the new Drip Bullings video, who's gonna come out probably soon after our game yesterday. So I'm really excited about that one.
He did one about Fett. I guess this is a pretty good time for me to kind of just address all these points. Mint, did you watch the one on Fett?
Yeah, no, I did. I tried not to. I didn't watch, but yeah, I did.
I didn't. Drip and I, obviously, like, Drip and I disagree on a lot of stuff. And, there's parts of his conduct that I don't agree with, and I'm sure he probably feels the same about me. But as a human being, he seems like a nice guy. I have no problem talking to him. Like, I think he's shown some growth as a person. Like, I don't really want to get into it because I think relationships are obviously complex, but he and I talk from time to time because I honestly value his opinion, because he sees most things differently from me. So if he has a certain vantage point, then I kind of want to know it, right? So he'd messaged me about the Fett thing originally, and he'd sent me the video, and I didn't get around to watching it because it was just like, no offense, I don't really consume a lot of Rainbow content beyond what I do. But then Fett messaged me, and he was like, by the way, he's like, I don't know if you saw the video, but like, if there's any truth to what he said, and I did like piss you off or make you feel that way, like, obviously I'm really sorry. And I was like, I have no idea what's even in the video.
Yeah, I don't know what it is.
So I went and watched the first like 4 minutes of it or whatever, and I was like, Drip, are you just reading a Reddit thread and reacting to it? I was like, is this where we're... Yeah. So I watched it, and it's like, I just want to say, for the people that are watching this show, when we were reviving 6-on-6, I wanted Fett for a number of reasons. I think he brought good energy. I think he had great insight. I think he had expertise. He had gravitas, and he had that aura about him, and he had legitimacy because he had won and he knows how to make content. And I thought he'd be a really good fit for the show, and I still think he's a good fit for the show. But Fett's schedule is so tight. The dude's doing a PhD, like, he's also streaming, he's co-streaming, like, he's got a partner, like, he has so much that he does. I was actually shocked that he was even able to fit the show in here at all. And as time wore on, it just ended up being at an awkward time of day. He would literally rush out of class, come home, and then sit here for 3 hours. And then basically, like, around like 9, 10, 11 o'clock, he would suddenly be free to do things. And it just, like, he had too much stuff that he was doing. And, there were shows where he would be distracted, quote unquote, doing editorial work, doing editing work, prepping for future streams, coordinating, etc. It never bothered me. It didn't, because I know that people stim. Like I'm still doing stuff on the side while the show's going on. I'm sure other people are as well. Like I've got stuff going on for the NAL kickoff right now that I'm still responding to. That stuff doesn't bother me. So while Fett is no longer a full-time host, as he announced, and I guess we just never really needed to mention it because now Mint was never supposed to be a full-time host, but now here he is. He's been doing a fucking great job. I just wanted to say that, I watched the drip video, obviously, and no, I think if Fett playing like terrorist hunt allowed him to dial in, that's good. And, he's always welcome on. If he wants to do 15 shows in a row, he'll do 15 shows in a row here. It's just really at his own convenience and his schedule. So, it's not like he's gone. He hasn't been kicked off the show. Well, there was a goblin in the machine and we had a little bit of a tech issue. So I'm not entirely certain what part is going to actually make it into this final cut. So forgive me if I'm repeating myself for those of you that are wondering why I'm going back over this again. But just for the sake of not missing anything, the conversation was about Fett and Fett announcing on his stream that he wasn't being a regular co-host. Originally, when we conceived this, it would be Mint as an optional / guest co-host, and Fett and I would be driving the bus. And then obviously Fett can't really just make it work with his schedule. PhD student, partner, living the life. He's got other social commitments. He streams, he co-streams, he does TikToks, he does all these videos and stuff. The fact he was even able to afford time for this at all, it was awesome. And I mean, he's welcome on the show if he wants to do 15 shows in a row. He's welcome to. He's always here, and we do check in with him for his availability. But with our guest episodes, it's always tricky. Right now, he's literally in class, so he couldn't have done this episode anyway, even if he wanted to. But Mint has been doing a terrific job. And after the positive reception that the community gave to Mint, we made the decision to ask him to be a permanent host. I think he brings an awful lot to the show, a lot of stuff that I'm just not capable of bringing. I think he does an excellent job with it. And Fett is always welcome on the show. He's not been demoted. He's not been fired. He is still a co-host. It is still partially his show. And if he wants to pop on, he can. It's tough to align our schedules with his, especially if he's feeling the squeeze. And we're recording a podcast. He's doing a PhD and trying to set himself up for the next portion of his life. Like I would be foolish to prioritize a podcast over that. So Fett obviously is always welcome on the show. We love his energy. We love what he brings, but he made the decision, a difficult decision. He hemmed and hawed for a little bit of time and ultimately said that having that 2 to 3 to 4 hours, depending on the timing, back in his regular life actually helped him quite a bit. And that's all I needed to hear, because at the end of the day, like, I'd rather Fett be happy and only occasionally coming on the show than hating his life and doing the show, all the time. And so this was just in response to Drip's video. For those that haven't watched it, the Fett files or whatever it was called. None of the stuff that Fett did bothered me. And it's great to have Mint here. And, if Fett ever wants to join us, he's more than welcome to. So sorry you had to sit through that, Karl. And obviously, Kyle, it's great having you.
Yeah, I mean, never. Fett literally is the busiest person I've ever met. Like, that guy's always.
It's insane.
It's actually insane what's on his plate. So yeah. I completely understand. And I'm happy to be here. And I'm happy to get back to Alem4o if we want. Because I don't know about you guys. I would love to talk about the king, but we're not there yet. I want to talk about Stompn so bad, but we have so much. We literally just got
We can speed through this if you want to speed through it.
We'll rapid fire a little bit here. Look, we just talked about you going to G2. You said that team, I'm just going to say it was kind of dog meat. Was kind of dog meat, right? Like, you had Prano yelling you weren't a big fan of. When you joined that team, though, were you immediately trying to bring over that Brazilian style of Siege, or were you like, I'll just see what's going on in G2 right now?
Yeah, like, first of all, I also tried to bring Felipox with me to G2.
Oh,
or
that would have been big.
Yeah, it didn't happen, but I tried to. Also, no, Vopes wasn't an option. No, that's after. But yeah, I tried to bring Felipox with me. I think like G2 was asking me like about if I had any other good names that I think players are good to bring. I mentioned Felipox. And I didn't even knew Jake Virtue back then because I wasn't in the team. So I even suggested like to bring Felipox over Virtue when I joined the team. I didn't know how good he was, But yeah, that was like one idea I gave them. But okay, I joined G2, and then in my opinion, they had like no knowledge about the game, how it was being played, like split theory, like let's just say on defense, they were like more like up updated to the meta. Like, because I guess in Europe, I think the defenders always play so aggressive, like powering positions and like retaking and doing stuff, but not so as coordinated as we were doing back in Team One. So still, I think we were playing worse than in Team One defender wise. And I disagreed completely with the way Prano wanted to play Siege, like doing a lot of like cheesy stuff, like only like pocket plays. We pretty much went to quarterfinals in Berlin Major, doing only like pocket plays with like cheesy like blitz glass stuff, which is like is a way of playing the game, but like not if it's your main play style. And that was what Prano was mainly trying to do. And I was always trying to like teach them how to like, guys, we can play the game more like applying pressure in one side of the map, abusing like maybe the movements of the enemy according to where they're gonna rotate to, and like trying to play more like positional siege, as Pepe Guardiola would see football. That's the way I see siege. Play more positional siege, and like this Citizen also kind of like agreed with me in some point, but also like had his own ideas of how to play the game, especially like doing mid rounds. I think like sometimes he would like tunnel visual to do something that he would think would be right, but in my eyes, or like the macro of the round, maybe wouldn't be right. So we would have Prano IGLing, me and Ben not agreeing, uh, Ben with his vision of the game, but also kind of agreeing with me that I was right and Prano was wrong. And then, of course, like I had no balls to tell G2, look, put me as captain. I was like 21 years, a Brazilian playing in Europe for the first time. I had like no balls whatsoever to go to the staff and say, look, I want to be captain. And I didn't even want to be. I never wanted to be captain IGL. Never. That's why Lagones was the main IGL. Yeah, I never wanted to be that guy, you know? I became that guy, but I never wanted to be. Like in Team 1, I was happily under Lagones IGL. I could create a lot of the strats. Majority of the strats and the theory was me. Lagones would IGL them. He would speak all over the round. I could focus on my game, lurking, shot calling. If I see an opportunity, I could call to organize that. But I don't want the comes that the pressure that comes with being the IGL, or like the when you have to say something every round, when you have that role of you need to be talking, you know, I don't like that at all. I still don't like either on the days right now, but I have to do it. Somebody has to do it, and I'm the best guy to do it, so let's just do it, you know. But like back then, I didn't have the balls to ask to be IGL. I didn't even thought I was the right guy to do it. So we had to work with Bruno for half of the year. We end up going quarterfinal Charlotte, which I think was like a big thing for us, because I generally don't think we were a quarterfinal major team to be. Then Berlin Major, also Bruno was already kicked, and we went quarterfinals. We famous game where I retired Super. Last Super's game of his career was me screaming to his ears that I retired him. So I like to bring that up as well. We went to quarterfinal. Went to quarterfinals. We lost to Rogue. Also crazy game for me as well. I dropped I think a 22 bomb on bank. I remember like Spoit coming to me and saying, "Good job, Karl. You're really good." It was the first interaction I had with Spoit, I think, and then he ended up winning the tournament and getting MVP on his first tournament of his career. So yeah, that was that game. And then Prano was kicked. And then fun part, then I think we argue about like Citizen being the IGL. I was like really a pussy. I didn't want to be IGL at any cost. I was young, you know, like I didn't want the pressure. I just wanted to play my game and help with the ideas, doing theory stuff. So Citizen became the IGL. We try out Joom, we try out Like Effect. He was playing Challenger League back then. He was a rookie, and we try out Blur. We couldn't understand Like Effect's English. It was very hard to work with, and we needed a hard support because Prano was our hard support. And Like Effect, not gonna put Like Effect on hard support, so it didn't make sense. But I guess would be the best option if you think right now. But like, look how funny this game is, right? We try out Joom, also arguably the best player in the world right now. Try Joom. He kind of like choke on the tryouts. I don't even agree that tryouts are a good thing to do in Siege. I think it's just like bullshit. But like, okay, we try out Joom. We didn't like Joom or Effect, and we got Blur. We got Blur instead of Joom and Like Effect.
Yeah.
And Citizen was the IGL. We ended up playing very poorly the stage. We didn't even qualify for the major. It was a Sweden Jokoping major. We didn't qualify for the major. We got 7-0 by Navi on the stage on my birthday. I was very depressed. And yeah, after that, I think G2 put some names on the transfer list. And there was a big clash between me and Citizen back then. about like how to play the game and like what we're gonna do. So I think G2, I don't know what names G2 put on the transfer list, but I think Ben was one of them. And then Ben got a good offer to go to NA. Ben accepted the offer, so Ben left. Then we also wait, skip one good part. After we kicked Prano, we got Fabian as a coach. I
Yep.
forgot to talk about Shaz.
Yep.
Sorry. Shaz was also like Shaz was just like crazy. Like the way he think about the game was just like too nerdy or like not real. Like the Wolf of Wall Street. Like when the guy says like Fugazi, just a Wazi. That's how Shaz thinks about the game. The first time I joined G2, he said, "Oh guys, we're gonna play Theme Park. Theme Park just joined the pool, by the way." He said, "Guys, I think here on Theme Park we're gonna have to ban Sense because the map is made like this way, so Sense you can cut the map between the middle and then you're gonna play the game like this." And I was just thinking like, what is this guy on about? Like, is this guy crazy? Like, what is he on about? But and I guess Shaz wasn't the personality to handle with me, Prano, and Citizen arguing all the time. And then you had like just Virtue and Doki just there like bored about the discussions all the time. So okay, Shaz was this guy. After we removed Prano and Shaz, Fabian joined with the goal. I never wanted Fabian to join because he was already a caster, and I guess like I don't think this guy knows about Siege the way I do, the way the Brazilians do right now. I disagree picking up Fabian, but we got Fabian. And me and Fabian always had problems since he had joined the team. But the whole goal of Fabian joining the team, I guess, it was like a strong leader in the team who's gonna be able to control all those egos in the team. If Alem4o and Citizen are arguing all the time, we need somebody to put those guys in order and fix the issue, right? Well, it didn't work. After the stage, we didn't make the major. Citizen left, and we got benched. And then that was like the 2022 G2, pretty much. That's like the resume of the team. That was what happened during 2022.
I think just to touch on Shaz very quickly here, for a long, long time, considered to be one of the premier coaches, if not the best coach that we'd ever seen in the game. But I think a couple things happened. I think his grasp on the game just steadily changed as the game changed itself. And as a friend of Tom's, I know that the Mexico major was basically where he decided he didn't want to be in esports anymore. And it was just like, it had like broken him. He would spend like during events, he would literally sleep like 2 hours a night. He would do strats, he would do prep work. And a lot of it was data driven, like you said. It was base numbers, and numbers don't always back up the eye test, especially with teams that themselves are not super numbers driven and they just kind of play off vibes. I think around the Mexico major, my understanding is Tom, who's Shaz, who's the coach of Penta in G2, basically decided he was done and he didn't want to have to manage those personalities. And it's funny because I actually remember talking to him about the Mexico major when Citizen was on that team as well. And basically he just said, he was like, it was very challenging to control the players at G2. And he goes, it felt like I was managing egos more than I was actually coaching. And he's like, that wasn't the line of work I wanted to do.
No. Yeah. And like sorry, you can keep talking.
No, I was just literally just going to finish. And I was like, couple that with the fact that the game was changing and he obviously wasn't as up to date with the game anymore. It's kind of like a 1-2 punch of like, you're not really providing the same value, I think, as a coach. And I think he knew that, which is why he moved on.
Yeah. No, I also think he knew that because like he kind of like he understood that I knew a lot about the game, but he couldn't understand what I was trying to tell him to put into practice, And I could see that he was also like going through this phase of like being sad about not being able to like be who he was in the past. Because maybe I'm a little bit rude when I speak, like because I speak like what I see the world is like. I'm not like emotional, but I'm gonna be emotional. I love Shaz. I think he's a great person, a great friend. I was really friends of him, and I really enjoyed the time we worked together in G2. Even though I didn't thought he was like a coach that we needed back then. Because in my opinion, like imagine I worked with Rafael when I was in T1. Rafael was my analyst. Now he's a double time SI winner. So like, that was the level I was playing with when I was in Brazil. So like when I come to G2, I expect like G2, the goats of Siege, they have like like smarter like people working there. So like I got kind of upset when like I knew Shaz, but he was a great friend of me. We had a lot of fun working together, but that's what we ended, I think. And I think maybe when he had like Penguin and Fabian on the roster back in the days, like old meta, old Siege, I guess also like Fabian and Pengu, they probably like used to dictate how they wanted to play the game. I don't think he was purely Shaz. Imagine you are working with the two biggest egos of all time of Siege. Like arguably people say like Fabian the GOAT. I say Penguin the GOAT. They are both arguably the GOATs. My opinion, Shaz was not telling Fabian and Penguin how to play the game. So like I think he was having the same issues with me and Ben, I guess. So yeah, I
He
think
also had a
that's
lot
why.
of help, as far as I remember, when he was coaching that G2 Penta squad. Like Fabian obviously was very, very active, and that team,
Yeah.
like that team was very hands-on, as far as I know. And of course, I could be wrong here, but that was my understanding.
No.
Do we want to take the time very briefly to talk about coaches now? Because Romalia obviously gets a lot of hate, and I mean, I think there have been other coaches who've come out and been like, people don't understand how good he is. Help us understand, I guess.
Well, I think, guys, I'm probably the best person in the world to talk about coaches, right? Like people criticize my opinions, but I am the best person to talk about coaches. I worked with Igor.
The
I
GOAT.
worked with Igor.
The GOAT.
I worked with Rafael,
The other GOAT.
arguably the other goat. With Fabian, arguably the other goat.
Mhm.
You know, so like I have a lot of experience when it's to talk about coaches. And people don't like when I talk about Fabian. People think I'm a hater, you know, like, and then Fabian responds to me, you know, like trash talking me, and like everybody then hates me now. So like, I talk what I think, you know, I know. And about Ramalho, I wanted to have like a smart coach, and I think Ramalho was gonna be a free agent. I knew he was gonna be a free agent, and since Fabian joined the team, okay, we had a great moment. We won a side together, but I still don't think he was good for me or for the team. No, like I don't think honestly he was helping us that much. Maybe he has a different opinion. Even my old teammates have a different opinion. Like if you're gonna ask like Doki or Benja, like Benja is to like Fabian, you know, like Virtue. I don't know. Like I don't really know how he feels about Fabian. I don't remember talking to him about this. And Doki also, I think. The point I think what Doki and Benj I think about Fabian is like they understand maybe the impact he had on us from being a leader, because as I said, like I never wanted to be the leader or the captain, IGL, whatever you guys call, and I don't have this personality, you know. I'm not gonna be like Fett who's gonna scream to the team and put them on place, you know. I'm more like a chill guy, you know. I know about strats. I'm not gonna scream to anyone, you know. Like I wanna say what we have to do, and now like, and we can also talk about my old uh, mental problems as IGL as well towards G2. I think there's a lot to talk about that as well. One thing that Fabian brings up as well when he criticized me. But yeah, like we have different opinions about Fabian, but and Ramalho was free agent. Ramalho, like also one of the one of the smartest coaches, you know, ever on Siege. He was the third Brazilian coach to win a S-tier tournament on FaZe on the Sweden Major, together with Dark, which is coaching VP now, which is like very good coach as well. He fixed FearX, like Dark also good. They were coaching together FaZe. So Ramar knows a lot about Siege, and I wanted help to someone to help me about Siege and like work on shreds, you know, because I think it was only me back then. Yeah, so Ramada joined the team, and since then we didn't win anything. And people blame Ramalho. Of course, people that don't know deep into Siege knowledge gonna see like good crazy names on the lineup that they think, oh, these guys are crazy, how they're not winning any tournament. It must be the coach's fault. But Siege is a very, very competitive game, and sometimes you're just not gonna win. Like, of course, like, me and Ramalho, we already created like tons of different stuff, like theory wise, that people copy, people know like is good, and like we ending up like not winning the tournaments, but like the fans cannot see that deeper level, you know. Like for example, we can navigate towards like all the tournaments we played with Ramalho, like can talk about the players we had in the past in G2, like who trolled each tournament, you know. But I would arguably say that Ramalho is maybe the one of the most important pieces on G2. I wouldn't trade him for nobody, you know. Like the only coaches I see are on the same level as Ramalho is like Igor, Rafael, Dark, and like that's it. Like don't think anyone can be better than this guy, and he just don't have that personality that Fabian had, that everybody think we need, you know, to put us in control, you know, like, because everything's a joke to us, like Drip Pulling says. But that's not true, you know, like, we grind our asses off, we live this game, like, people especially point the finger at me saying everything's a joke to me. I live in Serbia. The only thing I do is work. Like, I don't see any friends or family the whole stage. That's all I do. So, like, I don't know. People just hate just to hate, you know, just because they see, especially now. Now I think the haters are even bigger because we have like another super silent team, not only Stompn but also Shaiko. So I guess if G2 doesn't win anything, they have to find someone to point a finger and say, look, these guys the problem. But like sometimes the game is just competitive and sometimes you're just not gonna win. And yeah, and it's hard.
There's so much to talk to you about
Ah.
because Min wants to talk about Stompn. I'd love to talk about
Oh.
Shaiko.
I
Admittedly,
want
there
to talk
isn't.
about Remalio for sure.
Okay, well,
Okay, sure. I think I actually fully agree with you, Alem4o. Although it is fun as a co-streamer sometimes, kind of like Raza does, to poke fun at certain things and go, you know what I'm talking about.
I know. I completely understand.
Ramalio is nicknamed, and you're an Eminem fan yourself, right? I consistently
Yeah.
hear you listening to Eminem right before pregame,
Yeah.
but Ramalio is actually the one that's nicknamed the Rap God. Everyone can hear his timeouts, and I was wondering, because a little bit about Ramalio, he's a very strategic coach, right? He's more strategic than on the mental side, the leadership side that you were talking about, like maybe Fabian was. So Ramalio is very strategic, up there with the Igor and everyone that you were naming. But I want to know, like, for the Ramalio timeouts, the casual viewer listens to this guy and has and no idea what he's saying, and like that, totally fine. He's obviously a natural Portuguese speaker, and he's trying to speak English into the team. And he's speaking extremely fast. You can hear how strategic he is in these timeouts, giving you many, many, many ideas that, like, I myself will find myself sometimes pulling out a notepad and writing down and seeing if you guys are adapting and adjusting the way he's talking about, because he seems to just be giving you like theories and ideas.
Yeah.
Now I'm wondering though, like, does the rest of the team, does Zach, does Stompn, does the rest of the team actually understand what he is saying, or is he just speaking to you as the IGL, and then you're relaying it to everybody else?
Yeah, no, everyone understands him, and of course, it's hard if you don't talk to him on a daily basis because it is hard to understand. Like, when he first joined G2, his English was even worse, and it took like weeks until like Doki and Jake would understand him, and then every new player who joined the team took some time to understand him, you know, like imagine Blas and Ramalho trying to talk to each other. It was just like insane. But like then Stompn joined, and then Stompn also didn't understand Ramalho like the first maybe like 2 weeks. Yeah, so like Ramalho also didn't understand Stompn. So like but after you work with Ramalho for like a couple weeks, maybe days, depends how good is your English, but like after you work with him, you are used to how he speaks the English, and then you can understand him. So everyone understands when he goes there and he goes like insane rap god mode and says like 1 million things in 5 seconds. And even if like maybe someone didn't pick up on one thing, I pick up and I'm gonna like like digest that into what we need to do, you know. And like a lot of times as well, like maybe he's gonna say something on the timeout about how he thinks we need to adapt, and then we're gonna start the next round and we're gonna see something that we need already to readapt, you know. Like suppose he says one adaptation, and then like, okay, according to what the enemy did the previous rounds, that makes sense. And then the round starts, and then with the drones we're seeing on attack, the enemy changed their behavior, and the idea that Ramalho said was not gonna work, you know, because they changed their behavior, and is to counter what maybe they are predicting we're gonna change, you know. So we already have to readapt, you know. So not always we're gonna do what the coach says, and this I think works for every team, because the coach is really the impact of the coach is also on the day-to-day basis. So like we are learning how to adapt to a lot of different stuff on the day-to-day scrims. So like even though he gave an idea on the timeout that we are not following because maybe we see something on the next round and it changed our behavior, the way that we can change our behavior ourselves, me especially as IGL, is because on the day-to-day basis, I'm working with Ramalho, and we both evolve every day, learning from scrims. You know, so if we experience some situation in scrims, we both learn how to react on that if we face on the game. So not always the team is gonna do what the coach says on the timeout, and this works for like a lot of different teams, like especially the coaches that don't say anything on the timeout. Like you're gonna have like I don't know, like Fabian when they lost to us on a side. You go and watch his timeout when they're losing to us and they lost to us. It's like, guys, I'm very disappointed at you guys. I don't know what to say, and that's it. Hot and cold.
Yeah.
Do your thing.
Yeah.
So.
No, I think that's a great point, and that a lot of people don't see is like they'll judge coaches just by their timeouts and call people like Mickey Mouse coaches and check stealers and things like that. But it really is the everyday processes. You're not with the coach on a day-to-day basis to know exactly what he's doing, and I think that's even more valued when you look at like someone like FaZe. I got no idea what Rafael's even saying in his timeouts. But I'm like, something that guy must be doing. Like, he just must be the actual GOAT, because he doesn't seem very animated, or I don't even know, like mental, or I don't know if he's giving strategy or anything like that. But
no, and like most of the Rafael timeouts, like he's not gonna say something even like brilliant, He's gonna say some small thing that they already work every day to like build what they have theory wise. So he doesn't have to go there and say something brilliant in the game. Like Vita King probably already knows what to do. He's gonna say like some small thing, guys. Maybe I think you guys can abuse this operator now because they are taking this area with this map. And guys, for the other bomb side, I think you guys do that defense that we talk about on the prep, and you guys gonna win. Like sometimes the coaches don't need to say something very genius on the timeout because they did the prep before the game, so they know what can happen, and they already work every day with the roster. They already have all the knowledge that is required to win, So it's about like putting in practice.
Sometimes they do say genius things. I remember actually one time out very recently, Romalio called the fact on border that they were going to do an archives plant, and he said very
the plant, right?
Azami the window off and swing. And I'm pretty sure it was like match point. It was a brilliant call. Predicted them perfectly, right? So sometimes coaches are pretty spot on, but you're absolutely right.
That was actually
like,
genius.
Sometimes with 1,000 IQ.
It's always good to get the vantage point and perspectives of people who work with these coaches, and I love that line that you said about people tend to rate coaches just off of their timeouts. We've definitely listened to coaches, and I've been guilty of this on the broadcast before. I think with Stuflex was the most recent example where we'd hear like a very tactical timeout called from one coach, and then Stuflex would just be like, "All right, guys, you got to wake up. Like, we got to do better. Like, we can win this. We're the better team." And I'm like, "Look, I'm not a coach, but I don't think there's a single player who's playing in that match who doesn't know that they're amazing and they can win the match. Yeah, you need a reminder every now and then, but there's a part of me that just as a non-player thinks the lack of technical guidance probably hurts the team. I guess it just really comes down to the team, right? And I don't want to judge too unfairly, but there are certainly times where I will hear a timeout and be like, if I'm a player, that to me was a waste of time. But again, I'm not a player. So what the hell do I know?
Yeah.
So I'm glad that you can come on here and say positive things about, the coaches that deserve respect, because we don't see, 90% of the work they do.
Yeah. No, and also like it's funny, right? It's actually ironic because like as I said, I work with Igor, INTZ, didn't win anything. I work with Rafael, and he was the analyst of Team One. Okay, but the coach was behind us, was Chubbs, and we won Mexico. And Chubbs was not like the strategical coach, like he was like the hype guy, like Fabian, for example. He wouldn't like give a timeout and fix a problem. No, he would pause the game and then I will start talk, like Werner will give his input, but I'm gonna start talking as soon as Chubbs do the timeout, and we won in Mexico. And then with Fabian also like doing his like motivational timeout, we also won a side. And then like I have the most brilliant coach working with me, and ironically we didn't win anything together. But I put my feet down and say that's the guy I want to work with, because that's the guy that I think he helped me the most. Like we even commented on that. I think that the most famous Fabian timeout was the one against FaZe on a side that he was screaming at us. And then like I remember like talking to Jake after that, because after the game we won, and Jake was like after that round Jake got like a 4K with Ash, and he saved the round. If Jake didn't got that 4K with Ash after the timeout, we would have lost Villa to FaZe and we'd be disqualified from SI, like early on, like not even going like to top 8, I think. And then I remember like talking to Jake after the timeout, like after the game, and I was like, bro, I actually hate when Fabian scream at us, bro. I was so pissed. and you can see in the clip, bro. I'm like straight like this, like I'm like, bro, I'm so pissed. Like, who does this guy think he is to be talking to us like that? And then Jake was like, the same reaction. Yeah, bro, I'm not even kidding. I just got that 4K with Ash because I was so mad at Fabian for talking to us like that. So I guess it worked, but like it's just insane, right? But I know personally that Benj and Doki really liked the way Fabian used to help us on this part, and I guess right after like Fabian left. I mean, maybe even with Fabian, but I don't remember now correctly. But maybe even with Fabian on the Copenhagen major, because I think we won a SI. Then we played Copenhagen major. We lost to
Yep.
Liquid, and then I think we kicked Blur and Fabian. I think was this. I know we play even Saudi with Fabian. I think we play also Saudi with Fabian, if I'm not recall. I think we play Copenhagen with Blur. Blur left, and then we play Saudi with Fabian and Gemini, and then both Gemini and Fabian left. And I think what was in Saudi that like back then I used to react different. As I said, I was young and like I never wanted to be a leader. I don't have that personality. I just wanted to play quiet and say something smart when I want to say it. And I was a leader already, of G2, big name, leader, captain. And I used to get very mad when we used to throw around. And I have Doki on my team. He's like one of the greatest players of all time, but he throws the most rounds. It's something he's on the balance. It's his role. Sometimes he just throws. Sometimes he just saves the round. Sometimes he gives you a hammer. But like, and then I used to get very, very mad when we used to throw around, like something very silly. Like, I don't know, like we're playing quarterfinals against Liquid on Copenhagen. Blurs my side player, and suddenly he says, "Guys, they're planting," and we are like, "What?" So like I used to get really tilted of like throw rounds of like really, really bad plays that shouldn't be happening, or something that we talk on prep about what they're gonna do and they do and we're not ready for that. Like I used to get very mad and I used to like go quiet. I used to keep to myself and not like rage towards my teammates, like say like wake the fuck up, like do something like this. And I used to get mad and quiet. And like that also like happened, I think, after Ramada joined, especially on Atlanta Major, because Atlanta Major herds really got into my head before the game starts, because he typed something like
Was that the one where he was uploading photos of you like with the head on the dog and he was like walking you like a dog?
I don't remember, but maybe yes, bro. Maybe yes. Like, but he typed something before the match start on the lobby. It was like, "Did you tell Jake he's getting kicked after the tournament?" And he typed in Portuguese. And then like Jake saw his name on the chat and he was like, "Karl, what is he talking about me?" And I had to translate to Jake what herds were talking that we were gonna kick Jake after the tournament. And that was like a pretty awkward situation. And like I was already like kind of like this was in my mind, like, bro, like I'm already annoyed, at this thing. And then like was and then we start the map, Consulate. It was a Paraban. It was like our best map. Okay, we're gonna run over them. And then before the game, I said, guys, let's remove the Jaeger for the compositions because I think we should just run more traps because of their playstyle. And then the first round, Herds drops Yellow Skylight, cooking a nade, and throws in Zulu and kills me with the cooking nade on the first 5 seconds of the round. And my mind is already like exploding. And like, I guess I was immature mentally to be like doing the role I was doing. I guess it worked on a side, but I had to like really evolve on that aspect of my captain leadership. And I guess I went from like caring too much about like when we throw around, I used to get super mad or like get quiet or like let other players get into my head more often. And then now I take things more like smooth. So if we end up trolling around, instead of like getting mad at it or like being quiet, me and Loki will make a joke about it because we know how good we can play when we are having a good mood in the team, other than like we are mad at each other because one of us troll around and we are all pissed at each other. And that happened a lot with Benj and Jake back on the line. We won a side and we were trying to find a fifth because we didn't thought Blur was at our level. We didn't thought Gemini was our level. Then Uno maybe not at our level, and then the roster fall apart. And that was when we were getting really mad at each other. Like Jake and Doki were fighting all the time. Benj and Uno were fighting all the time. I was like, guys, what is happening here? And then like the roster fall apart. Maybe because we were taking things too serious. In our head, we were the best team in the world because we won a side, and we were not getting those results anymore. We were losing to W7M every tournament. Like we couldn't win anymore, and we were getting really pissed at each other. And because this mood was so heavy, like we would, bro, the major, the Manchester major, it was still the same core: me, Benja, Uno, Doki, and Jake. We were practicing against the Beast Coast. They won the major. We were 11-1ing them on screen on every map. think we lost labs to them because they were really good at labs. I remember we lost like 10-2 on labs, and Gunner was like dropping 30 on the scrim. But the other maps, we literally 11-1 them on every single other map. And then when it translates to the game, we are playing against Cyclops, we lose a 5v3, and the game is over. Like everyone is mad at each other, like it's a terrible mood, and then the team falls apart. And then we ending up like letting Jake and Benja go for like different reasons, but like that's how the mood gets into the heads of the players, you know.
Yeah.
Sometimes we have a great squad, sometimes we have the best threats, and then you can't win, you know. So people also don't understand some roster changes that we do or teams do, but sometimes there's more than like individual performance, you know. Sometimes there's more than that, and that's what I think most fans or haters don't understand about the game.
I want to talk about vibes a little bit, but I just for the interest of time, I want to take us back. We got to go through. We have 3 topics remaining that I see. So number 1 is your SI run in Montreal, and then I want to talk a little bit about that in the roster. I know you've already you've touched on it throughout the course of the episode, but I kind of want to neatly put it all together. And then Stompn is something that Mint really wants to get into, and then we'll wrap up with the Shaiko and current roster at G2. You've been really gracious with your time, and I appreciate it. I don't want to keep you too long. Though I am thoroughly enjoying this. You've been a terrific guest so far. Let's talk a little bit about Montreal. So you mentioned roster clashes. You mentioned trying to find somebody that could fit those vibes. Before we go any further, if you don't sub out Citizen for Blur, do you guys still win SI?
For Benja.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, sorry. Right.
Now,
Do you
of course,
you still win SI?
Of course, we don't win SI. And like it's vibes, like the vibes just like felt way better. Like because especially me and Ben, we used to always argue about like play style wise, so like we couldn't like work together, you know. I love Ben, he's my friend, like love him, think he's a great player, but we had just like different opinions about the game. And then comes Benja, the most quiet person ever, who just gonna accepts whatever the hell you say for him to do. And then I say, Benja, look, here he comes. I have a lurker role for you. You can play like this, and you're gonna kill everyone. And this is the place how you're gonna play. And then Blur is also quiet, doesn't say anything. It's literally just me telling how the team's gonna play. Jake, super quiet, and Doki being Doki. So like we have the vibes, we have great vibes in the team. Blur and Doki are also great friends. I actually love Blur as well. Was my friend, deep friend. But and then like Benja MVP OSI. Like we got the MVP OSI like 1 month before we played the tournament. So the vibes were great. The new acquisition was great. Maybe if we got another player, we wouldn't win. You know, like it's not just the vibes. Like we got the best player in the world. He just got the MVP. You know, so it was like a crazy acquisition to get Benja. You know.
That's what's crazy to me is that it was 1 month before SI. I believe Benja was like January 19th or something like that. How did you put it all together in a month? Them learning a brand new play style. You got Fabian, who's just yelling at you guys every day, apparently. How do you put it all together? Was it a honeymoon period? Because like SI 2022, like it was. I mean, all of your wins seem to be like written by the producers because like it was it was written in the stars for this.
Actually, bro, I don't know, bro, how the team learned so fast. Cause like I was finally teaching them how to play the split theory. Cause like until that moment, Citizen was the IGL, and we were playing like other type of game. I don't know, but like back then we literally sat there and like, okay, theme park. 1 outside cafe, 1 kitchen windows, 1 dragon balcony, 1 CC hedge, 1 playing below on the stairs, yellow arcade stairs, whatever. That was Benja. Benja free roll doing whatever, killing everyone. And like Villa, same thing, like 2-2-1, and like cafe, the windows split, like crazy. So like I don't know how the team got the playstyle so fast. It was literally like 1 month. Like I don't know how, but I feel like back then, because they were so quiet, they were able to digest what I was saying like in a complete different way, you know, like so good. And also the opponents weren't so familiar with the playstyle, you know. Like many teams still like didn't understand the playstyle back then. That's why we won a side so, you know, like so how do you say, like so not superior, but like so, I don't know. I felt like our win was like deserved. Like on at the end of the games against Dark Zero, against Canadian, I think we beat them like 7-0 Skyscraper. Then like
you guys felt like you had plot armor. Like you're almost like I use the word inevitable, I think, but it really did feel like same with Team One. Both times you've won, it felt like it was just like it was coming.
Yeah, it was coming. You know, like Auction also like 7-0 on the winner bracket semifinal. Like they got third. Like we really ran over some teams, and it was the same feeling I got in Mexico, but it came only one day before the final. Like we were gonna play W7M, this five heads monster that everybody's talking about. They're gonna win the tournament, and I remember I called Chubbs. I called my former coach from Team One. I called him. I don't know why. We were talking on WhatsApp, and I just called him. Look, and I was just like laughing, like on FaceTime. I was like, Chubbs, tomorrow we're gonna win the hammer, bro. And like I genuinely felt 100% confident that we're gonna win the hammer. And that feeling only came one day before the final. Was after we beat the auction. Like I felt so confident in us that to win the tournament. But yeah, I feel like the Fabian role, like he was very strict to put us on point. So like if we were like late by 1 second to be on the team speak, we would get like a strike and then eventually get a fine. Or like I don't know, like if one of your players is behaving like childish, he's gonna put you in order. That was the Fabian's role, and even on the bootcamp, I stress a lot with him. There was one day I was literally ignoring him IRL, and he was so mad at me because I was like pissed of something he did. I don't even remember what, but like there was one day I was genuinely ignoring Fabian IRL on the bootcamp, and like 15 days after we were lifting the hammer together. So like it was funny. Like it was funny the whole story. Like it was genuinely like a movie scene because it was just like meant to happen. And also one fact I like to bring as well is like Wolves put us on the lower bracket, and then we end up winning every game until we were champions. And then next year they put W7M on the lower bracket, and W7M end up winning every single other match. So Wolves was the only team who was a top team back then, but everybody like underestimate them, and they were the only team who beat like G2 and W7M on both SIs that both won.
I mean, it literally was like a movie to me. And what I remember vividly, and you touched on it too, is that Fabian timeout in the group stages where can't remember the exact words, but I think he told you guys to pull your heads out of your asses, basically. Wake the fuck up, right?
Yeah.
Do you think, because you obviously you and Fabian have a little bit of beef, but like, do you think that mentality in SI really got you guys locked in? Because after that timeout, it seemed like the rest of the tournament you were just kind of smoking everybody. Do you think, like, yeah, he played a big part in that SI win, or do you see differently?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like could be, I don't know, because personally, I generally don't know how affect me. I didn't like, and maybe unconsciously, maybe have helped me at some point. I don't know, but as I said, like Benj and Doki liked the way he was coaching us, So like we have different opinions. I guess like if you have like half of the team who really liked what he did, maybe he did like was a great part of us winning SI, Like half of the team loves him. So, but yeah, I think we did what we had to do to win the hammer together, and then we broke apart.
I mean, obviously, most people get into esports to be champions. In your wildest dreams, you like most players, you're probably gonna say yes to this question. I'm assuming you figured you'd win the hammer at one point in your career, right? Like,
I mean, only one day before the final. I never thought I was gonna win the hammer. Yeah, like, because like
I feel like a lot of players will come on here and be like, "Yeah, man, like I know I'm good enough. I know my teams are good enough. Of course, we're gonna win the hammer."
No, but that's just the illusion. Like you don't know until you actually feel it. Like you have to feel it. It's not something like you can like just think because you're good enough you're gonna win. Is something like is like is spiritual. It's something you feel in the gut. Like it's just like probably what happened to W7M when they were losing 6-1 to FaZe after they made like 3 rounds. After like when it was like 6-3 or when it was like 6-4. They knew they were gonna come back, and FaZe knew they were gonna lose. It's something it comes in. I don't know. It's something magical. You cannot explain that. Like you just cannot explain.
Did you care that you were doing it over Brazilians? Because I mean, you're not that far removed from all the Judas comments, right? Like people are still saying like you hate Brazil, blah blah. And then, of course, you win the hammer and you do it over your own country. You do it over a really, really hot team that a lot of people had as the favorites to win the whole thing going in. Was there any like conscious thought around that? Did you think to yourself like, oh, I'm going to win the hammer. It doesn't matter who I win the hammer against. Or did you want to kind of break the hearts of your home region and kind of stick it to them for all the shit they said to you?
Actually, no, that was not coming into my head. Maybe I could even have used that as a motivation, but it didn't even come to my head. But like, I was even like wearing the Brazil flag when I walk up on stage. I think if
Yeah.
you pick up the picture of the grand final I have on my phone, it's like us and W7M one right next to each other. I think I'm
Mhm.
carrying the Brazilian flag, and maybe like Julio or Abreu is carrying the Brazilian flag on the other team. So like I was even carrying on with me, and it was actually Kino's flag he gave to me when we eliminated them. What team Kino was playing was the Emedi, I think. No, with Yoga.
This is a terrible question for me
Next set
because
there.
those guys have been on the same like 3 teams, but they always they cycle it, and I have no idea
Yeah.
at that point in time what they were on. I have to look it up.
It might have even been XSET.
Yeah.
Could be XSET. Yeah, I think we eliminated them, and then he gave me his Brazilian flag, and then I wear it on stage when we won.
Mhm.
So yeah, I mean, I never thought about that, but now I carry this feeling, especially after playing on the
Yeah.
São Paulo stage, when I had the whole stadium screaming at me. Like that was tough. Like that was also tough. Like that was also one of those matches that I'm sitting there ready to play against W7M. They already won 2 majors in a row. They are playing SI now on their home country, and I have the whole stadium screaming my name, telling me to go to like some dirty places, and like bro, it's gonna be tough, bro. And then like my whole team is also feeling the pressures, like not only me in my head, it's like everyone is inside their own heads, and then we can't even shoot them at the game, bro. Like
No.
I think Hertz was literally like walking over us.
I try casted that match with Fabian and Pengu, so I got to bring on 2 of the old team to watch it, and we were really hoping for a good game, and boy, was it not a good game. So I mean, it could have been exciting. Do you mind that you're seen as the villain? Do you embrace that? Do you like that a lot
Now
of
I
people
embraced
cheer
it.
against you?
Yeah,
Yeah.
now I embrace that. Yeah, now I like
Yeah.
that. Before when one aside, I didn't thought I don't think it was like of this proportion. I think right now is it reached a proportional level that is so big. Because like now
Yeah.
it's not only the Brazilians, it's like the Jinxiverse, it's like the every single universe. I'm the super villain. I am the supreme leader. So like it's just like now it reached a big level that if I don't embrace being the villain, I'm just gonna lose my mind. Like it's something I have to embrace. Either you and like what doesn't kill you makes you stronger.
Yeah. It's not easy for people, especially like in the social media age, because I feel like a lot of people want to be liked, or if they don't want to be liked, they at least want to be like respected. And I feel like when you're a villain, you wonder if either of those are correct, because you can like a villain just fine and realize that they're playing a role, or the audience can play a role in hating on it, but like people hate on you and then you lose, but then they're still like, that was a good try, Alem, like good game, like there's no actual like malice or anger towards you. So I was curious as to how you went about it, because you do tend to shift, right? Like you're not like a bad guy, you're not like a mean guy, you're not like an asshole, at least not that we can see. So it's like your public persona is just kind of like you're goofy, you're funny, you like to have good vibes, but you also love to shit talk, but not like in a mean way. You just like to shit talk in like a
For the
funny,
meme.
I want to stir things up way. You're kind of a pest. That would be like you're like a bug. You're like a little mosquito. It's just like in people's ears, like you're doing your job. And I know some people struggle with it. It doesn't seem to weigh on you, which is really good, because at the end of the day, it's a bit of a performance, right? Like it's theater. It's not real. The last thing you want is people taking this kind of stuff seriously.
Yeah. I mean, that's why also like I don't like enjoy when people do the trash talk if I feel like it's coming from like a bad way. Like this guy is actually trying to be mean. He's not
Mhm.
doing for like the love of the game. He's doing for like, like being evil. So that was like one thing I thought about when Herds was mentioning the whole Jake thing about getting kicked before the game. I was thinking
Yeah.
like he's trying to play dirty. Like that's like not healthy trash talk. It's like kind of like a mean trash talk. So like I don't think it was a good one, but like I guess it ended up working. So we just have to blind. No, I just have like to protect our minds to the meaningful hate trash talk from now on. But and keep doing the healthy trash talk. That is the one I do.
I do think that's good. Like that the healthy trash talk in a sense. We need more character in Siege. We need more people
Yes.
outspoken, right? Super retired. Now he's just a coach, but you guys had some good banter between you guys all the time. Like, I feel like we get so many pros that want to come into the scene and just be like, the way I put it, it's like the quarterback in football, where you're just giving like some very boring direct answers, and it's like, you got to build a brand, man. Even if it's hate, it's still eyes on you. It's still eyes on our game. Look at Ashen. Ashen is not a bad dude. You listen to his podcast, like, he's a very actual humble, like, young kid, but like, he loves screaming at people, and people will talk about him because of that reason. But yeah, I think it's very healthy game.
I do think it is. I do think it is the social media thing, right? Like, if you come in and you're a big personality and you are finding ways to annoy people, there is a, Karl said it was kind of like disproportionate, like it was too much. It's like, look at some of the guys that are might have justifiably done things to piss off the community. And it's like, but then you look at guys who haven't. Like, it's different. Like, if you're like racist or you get busted for cheating or any of that stuff, like, I can understand why the community would come for you. But like, if you're just like Ashen or Newers, who all they really do, and even Troy gets it, for crying out loud. Like, Troy is never like rude or mean. Like, Troy is actually quite gracious for his opponents and stuff in interviews. And, he's quite diplomatic, but then he's an absolute barbarian when he's in the server. And it's like, but then the community just dog piles on him. And it's like, Ashen's the same. Like, Ashen is a really nice kid. Like, he doesn't mean any harm. He's loud and can be abrasive in a match, but that's kind of his job. He's the attack dog on the team. And then people are just so horrible on social media that I have to wonder if that plays a part in why we do tend to see so few villains these days. Back in the day, like way back in the day, you could be a villain and there was no Twitter for somebody to literally DM you and call you like slurs, like, or tell you to kill yourself. Like, that didn't exist. Like, if you were a villain back in like the 80s, that was just it. Like, unless they like showed up at your fucking house, like, there was no way for them to contact you. They're not calling you on the landline to be like, I really hated what you did. You should die. Like, nowadays, it's like, you can create an account on Twitter in seconds and DM Ashen and, tell him to no longer exist. Like, it's brutal stuff. And part of what makes esports so great is how accessible we are. We're reading these DMs ourselves. We're seeing a lot of this hateful stuff that's being said about us. And eventually it does kind of wear on you unless you have like an ironclad mental.
Yeah.
It doesn't seem to wear on you though. You don't seem to care. You just...
Yeah. Kind of a little bit, but I'm learning every time more how to embrace, especially how all those Stompn fans, the Jinxivers, hating on me.
Perfect segue. Mint is ready to dive in.
Let's talk about the king. Let's talk about the actual king. But first off, my own little segue, since we're talking about healthy shit talk and stuff, I'm going to fast forward a little after SI. Guys have a little bit of a different team. And at the moment, you got Puno on your team, kind of stinking it up a little bit. You guys make the roster change, right? You said it earlier, where he kind of wasn't.
The right fit.
He kind of wasn't the right fit, right? Now, I want to know, where the heck did a kid from Texas, a console player, Stompn, come on the radar of a team like G2? Was he number one on your list the entire time? Was NA sleeping on him? Because I will tell you, he had tryouts and he wasn't making teams. So how does he go to G2?
I mean, I had no idea who Stompn was. And even after the first week he joined the team, I was calling him Stomps.
Disrespect to the king.
I disrespect the king. I didn't know. I will keep my opinion that I don't think trials are good. I think that if many teams on NA tried out Zach and didn't like him, now you can see that trials maybe is a bad idea,
Yeah.
The same as us, on the first week of practice, I think Stompn had like a really bad PC in Scotland playing with Doki there, and he was not even performing good on the first week of scrims. And we were even like questioning like if we should actually change the roles, because Blaz was moved to the Uno role, like the Harbinger role, and Zach was doing more like those positions you play like alone in the map, like some like. I don't like those roles because it's kind of like boring, but it's a position like you play very, very passive, like it's very like Zach thing to do these roles, and then like you most likely gonna play like some end rounds and you're gonna end up clutching if you're really good. So that was like what Zach was playing. And then like, but Zach was not performing so good in the first week of scrims, and then and Blas was questioning like, I mean, why we're changing the roles then? Like, just why we changing the roles? Because and then like obviously after the first week, then we see what Zach was, complete beast. We're gonna talk more about him, but like back like to choose him to join the team, I don't know how we got into this conversation because like I think we were very like how do you say, like we already had our heads on kicking Uno. We just didn't know who to call, who to invite for the team. Even like I think this was after Rio, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think after Rio, I
Reload.
think Reload, yeah. I think we wanted to drop Uno and Blast, but there was only one spot to change after Reload. You cannot change two players. So I think both Uno and Blast had like a bad SI Boston, especially the match we got eliminated by auction. That was just like very, very bad.
Mm-hmm.
And then SI Reloads also very, very bad. Like very bad, very
Yes.
bad. And we wanted
Dark
to
time.
change both players. And then we couldn't change Blast, so we only changed Uno, and we got Stompn. And then because Stompn is so good, we end up like being a top tier player. And then like maybe after that side things didn't work out, then Blas like was removed like he was intended to be before. I don't think he understood or he agreed on his kick this time, but it was not something like only because of this tournament now on Asai. I think he even played good. I think he did the crazy clutch against Amedi, the one before, they're crazy. But like it was something that was more like there was like precedence for this decision, I think.
Yeah.
But so okay, after Reload, we could only change one spot. We changed Uno, and then we didn't know who to get. Like the good players were all like in some arc. They didn't want to join G2 because we were a joke internationally. And I'm surprised Zach joined us actually. I think he refused the first time, but then I think Ramalho texted him. Ramalho texted him, and I don't know what Ramalho said, but he convinced him to join. And
the org convinced him to.
the arc convinced. I don't think we're
For
talking
people
about
with no
spoil.
video, I've just been like making this spending money, throwing money.
No,
I wonder why. I wonder why this player joined G2.
I mean, I don't think we're talking about spoiled levels here. Like, spoiled is
No,
in
no,
a
I know. I'm making a
complete
joke.
different
Yeah,
world. And I would say, like, for Zach, I think like Zach really does for the love of the game. And I'm not gonna like open all of our private life here, but I can guarantee you guys 100%. Zach does not care about money at all, and if he cared, he would be a full-time streamer and
True.
have
Very true.
have his life
Very
like
true.
under control. So like he does for the love of the game, and I think I know how hard it is to move from your hometown city to like Europe alone. He's living with Doki now. It's very hard, especially him with 18 years. I came with 20 years and it was already very hard for me. I can imagine for him with 18 years how it is to leave your parents' house. I mean, I guess I did in São Paulo, but I was like closer to my city. But like he's living across the world, far away from his family, 18 years old. So he does for the love of the game. I think Ramalho really convinced him, maybe about talking about the game, that we're gonna teach him how like to see the game different, like play style wise. And then I think he really enjoyed the conversation he had with Ramalho. And Doke and Ramalho, Doki already knew who he was because he played a 1v1 tournament with him.
Yep, the
So Doki
famous
had an
clip.
idea. Yeah, Doki had an idea who he was. And then somebody put the video, his YouTube video in the group chat. And then I think me and Laura watched the video. We thought he was good. But we had no other options. Like, because
Wow.
we had no options. And me and Laura didn't even know Stompn. We had no idea
Wow.
who he was.
Wow.
Like
Wow.
for many people, this is insane because he's like famous. But like I don't
Yeah.
like you said, like I don't consume Rainbow Six content. Maybe I'm gonna watch like one scream highlight from Rexen time to time when he posts, or like some other player. But like I don't consume like YouTube videos from like Siege. Especially if you're not a pro player. So I had no idea who Zach was. And then like he joins the team. He got convinced by Ramalho. Okay, we're gonna teach you how to play the game, play style wise. He joins, and then we leave a honeymoon phase. He's the best player in the world. We go to Saudi. We arrive in Saudi. Lose to Shopify. So first banger there, 1v1, Spoit and Zach, the two content creators. First duel, Zach loses. People start already like hating and saying a lot of like trash talk. And then we showed who we were. beating all those 3 Brazilians on the playoffs and going all the way to the grand final of Secret. So I think like that tournament, Zach showed the world that he's like, maybe for a lot of people, maybe not the best player in the world, but he's here like for real. Like he's not a YouTube content creator. He's like a professional player and one of the best in the game. So does Loira. I don't think Loira had such a good performance so far in G2 until Saudi, when him and Zach was like just destroying everyone. Like Loira was jumping in a window and killing like 4 guys in 1 second. So like they both, that duo, they showed the world they were the best players in the world. And then unfortunately we lost to Secret on the final. But so far we were just like unstoppable.
Yeah, and you kind of mentioned you didn't know who he was, but obviously Stompn has a ton of fans. I mean,
He has a
might be
few.
he's got a few. He might be like
few.
even the biggest pro player content creator at this point right now, with Spoit, seemingly struggling a bit compared to Stompn. Stompn's kind of the king with some fantastic fucking clutches. He's got obviously the Jinxie verse behind him. Sometimes you guys literally have Jinxie watching your matches and rooting for Stompn. But with all that love comes a lot of criticism. And I think comes a lot of criticism your way as well. So I'm wondering, how is one, was that expected with picking up Stompn? And two, how do you handle that as a player and as an IGL? And I'm sure it's a learning process. You're still trying to figure it out, but how is all that kind of going for you?
I mean, first of all, I had no idea this would happen. I didn't know Stompn was famous like that, and I had no idea I would start having like tons and tons of haters. I had no idea, and I think even Stompn feels bad sometimes for that, because like we're always joking about, especially Doki. Doki always take the piss off a bit, like saying, "Okay, Alem4o, open your Twitter and check your comments, please," and then he just starts laughing, reading them out loud. And I think like Stompn kind of feels bad about it, because like most of his fans like just trash talk me all the time, especially because on the grand final I went like very negative on the match against Secret. So like I got like a lot of haters from that point on. But like people in general, like especially I think Stompn fans, like most of them probably are like underage and like kids, I think, because of the content Jinxie make. I guess they're like more like young people. So I don't think they have like too much understanding about the game, about like my role as like IGL, and even like the role I play sometimes with like the shields and stuff. So like not everything's about stats, and they also don't have this maturity to like know the words you're gonna say on social media. So they just like trash talk like the fuck out of me, and it's just crazy. But I'm learning how to accept that. I will be honest, like the pressure that is in my shoulders like doubled after Stompn joined the team with all those fans and haters. Like I don't feel like I'm able to play like my individual game, because like it was already hard because I'm the AGL, so I need like to. I always have the pressure of like I need to be leading the team somehow, either mentally or like strategic wise in the game. So like it's already hard to play my game with this responsibility, and then like you bring like tons of haters and fans at the same time, and it becomes even like harder. I guess maybe Troy feels that in some sort of way because he is the IGL of Spoit, and I don't.
I was just about to say that. Like it is impossible to watch an SR game without the fury of Spoit's fans on either Twitter or on Twitch. It's really prevalent on Twitch, where it's like the Twitch comments whenever Spoit plays are busier than usual, which is good, and it brings more eyes to the product, which is also good. But I think your understanding of the fan base is quite accurate. They don't really know the game. They just are looking for flashy plays and flashy kills. Well, Spoit doesn't play that role on SR, so you're not going to see that all that often. In fact, Spoit is playing a role right now where he's dying more than he's doing anything else. That's the nature of the role. And most of the time when we try to cast him, we almost trip over ourselves to try and contextualize what Spoit is doing for two reasons. Number one, the goal is to try and educate his viewers, should they be listening to us, which they might not be. But two, for those that do know, to try and ensure that they have a accurate read on what Spoit is doing, and it doesn't just seem like we're dumping on him for his performance. Because there isn't an event that goes by where Spoit or some of Spoit's friends or his handlers or his fans
get angry on Twitter about the way that Spoit is being portrayed. And it's a really tough balancing act because it's like, you can make an argument as to whether or not Spoit is in a good role. You can make an argument about whether or not Spoit is overperforming or underperforming on that role. You can make an argument about whether it's Spoit's decision, somebody else's decision. You can argue all those things. At the end of the day, I don't really give a shit about any of that. I'm there to cast the game, and I'm there to tell you what's happening. If Spoit makes a mistake that I think is happening, then I'm going to try to say it. But again, you have to be delicate with it because you've got all these ravenous fans that are ready to crucify you if you say something wrong. And I imagine the same is true with Stompn. And I say this because I have been around when Fett has co-streamed G2, and my God, I think I would die of a brain aneurysm if I had to deal with a chat like that. So it's just like, you've got all these like presumably children who don't know anything about anything, but are vital for keeping this esport alive. So they're a net positive overall, but it's just their understanding of the game is so poor, and they are so high energy that it's just like, I don't even know. It's unrelenting, and it's so frustrating to deal with as a caster. I can only imagine what that's like to do as a player, especially somebody like you, who's going to take a lot of heat for your position on the team.
Yeah. No, and I mean, like, it's just tough, you know, like, and you mentioned, like, the Fett stream. The Fett stream is easy. Like, you're gonna see, like, the Jinx stream, like, because Jinx is a little bit like a Raza, you know? Jinx is gonna, like, watch the game and, like, point fingers, you know,
I fear
like,
I'm
whatever.
20 years too old to get Jinxie's content. I like Jinxie.
You
Jinxie's
know-
a nice guy. I think he's amazing for this game. I'm just like, it's not the kind of stuff I watch, right?
Yeah, but he has, like, the biggest fan base. He just has, like,
Oh, of course.
thousands of comments there, and he's just
Yeah.
like Raza. He's gonna entertain his viewers, and he's gonna pinpoint, bro. If I'm like 4-14 on the last map of the grand final, he's gonna point at me and say, "Guys, this guy here is trolling," you know. So, and then all those fans are gonna come hate me. You know? So I think it's, you know, of course, like I played bad, but like not like discussing if I did or did not. I'm just saying like it comes with a lot of like pressure, those things, you know. Maybe if I was playing like in a team with like no fans, like on T1 for example, I could play bad a match and I wouldn't care because like I wouldn't have like thousands of people screaming my name
Way
after
less
the game, you
scrutiny.
know?
Way less
Yeah.
scrutiny. Yeah.
So like yeah, it comes a lot of pressure, and I think like it's a difficult job to be leading the team of superstars now.
And it got worse because you happened to add another really big name to your team.
Another
But we're probably not
superstar.
done talking about Stompn. I think Mint
We're
probably
just
has more
content
in the.
stacking.
Yeah.
More questions? The last thing I want to know about Stompn is Labs. Take me through it real quick, Almo. Labs 1v2. This guy at his first event, I believe his first actual event, against Team Secret, clutches, I think what you said, the greatest play you have ever seen with that 1v2 against Secret. Is that just common with the King? Is he doing that on the daily, or is that still the best clutch you've ever seen?
I mean, I'm gonna be honest, it's common, and it's something
yeah,
like
yeah.
I mean, it's gonna sound like I'm glazing, but it's something like you probably know that, Mint, because you played a lot, and like you know, like when you're spectating someone clutching, and then like you kind of like expect what he's gonna do, because like it's the most like sometimes the most obvious play to win the clutch. No, he's gonna do this, right? He's gonna kill that guy, and then maybe clutch like that. But when you're watching Stompn, it's like you don't know what he's gonna do. Like maybe you have an idea of how to win the clutch, but he's not gonna do that. He's not gonna do that. He's gonna do something different, but you know he's gonna win. He's just like, especially if it's a 1v1. If it's a 1v1, like I don't know how, and I just sit there and I know he's gonna win. I'm just there to see how he's gonna win. And it's some crazy experience because I play with like insane players. Like I'm not even saying Stompn is the best player I ever play with. Like I play with Laura, I play with Benja, Doki, I play with like KDS back in the team one. You know, like I play with like great players. And Stompn could be the best one or the best one, but he's definitely the best player on clutches I ever seen playing this game, like by far. I don't know what he's gonna do. I just know he's gonna do. And when he pull up those magic clutches, like the 1v4s, the 1v3s, or like even the Castle one on Constant, where he wall bangs two guys.
Yep.
He waits the guy to plant, wall bangs the door on the smoke, kills the guy, then wall bang the wall and kill the. Like, nobody's doing that. Nobody would play that clutch like he played. Maybe another person could have won playing different. I don't know, like picking the guy on the left while the other guy is planting, and then you kill the guy planting, do something else. But like nobody would do the way he did it, and it's something that it usually blows my mind. is crazy because like I'm playing this game for like 10 years. I shouldn't be having my mind blowing for like watching a guy playing clutch, you know, but I have.
Yeah. No, it's we would talk about it a lot. Like he's got the clutch gene. There's just you can't teach what he has, and he has
Yeah.
beyond the clutch gene. You're right. There's you think you see a vision of how he's going to end the round, and he pulls off something far beyond your expectations. So I feel like that glaze is warranted because yeah. I mean, I'm from North America. He might be the best North American player. Can you send him back?
Come home? Haven't
you
you
send
both
him
you and
back?
Fett said come home multiple times on this show?
Stop it. This is come back. NA needs you. You've had enough. Alem's had enough. He's feeling too pressured. All right. We need you.
We're thinking about Karl's well-being here.
Yeah.
Come back here, Stompn.
Yeah.
I think it's so funny that it's like, what's it like playing with this huge YouTuber Boba? And you're like, I didn't fucking know who he was. You're just like, I don't care. It reminds me of just like a little anecdote in my own personal life. Macy J sometimes hops in like my Discord just to hang out because like we're pals. And I have a couple IRL friends who are in there. They don't have anything to do with Rainbow Six. And my one buddy just joins and he's like, oh, like Macy J, like blah, blah, blah. He's just doesn't know him. And he's like, hey man, like, yeah, like my name's like blah, blah, blah. Like, nice to meet you. He goes, oh, do you play Rainbow Six? To Macy J. And we all, of course, just erupted with laughter. And he's like, what's so funny? And it's like, Macy doesn't play Rainbow. Macy basically like invented Rainbow on YouTube 10 years ago. Like of all the people, I'd be like at a party and Michael Jordan was like, yeah, I was doing some warm-ups. And it's like, oh, you play basketball? It's just, it's funny that you didn't know much about stuff. Admittedly, I don't really keep an ear to the ground on T2 stuff as much as I should. So, I mean, I didn't really know. I knew of Stompn, but I also was like, I don't really know that much about this guy. I will get up to speed when he makes his debut, but now there's people getting picked up for NAL teams. Then they're like, oh, they're huge content creators. I'm like, I don't.
Yeah, well,
I don't know.
Now we have Reese. Is that guy the future, Alamo?
Is that the guy that got absolutely
He's
dog
4 and
walked?
16, but you can follow the Reese aim method.
Poor guy, bro. Actually,
A lot of pressure on him, I'm sure.
A lot of pressure.
I just saw the Twitter feed and he was just getting hated on. I was like, what's going on here?
Yeah,
that's
man.
that's the thing with having a content, having a brand, though. He's gonna.
Yeah. Bro, I feel sorry for him, but yeah.
If you advertise an aim service and then you drop a fucking egg in your first pro game, I think people have reasonable grounds to go, what's going on here?
Hey, he's in
I
pro.
mean-
learning
He's
game
in
from
pro.
you?
Yeah. I mean, but the point is that I could argue is like, I mean, I love to make fun of people. I was like watching the game with Stompn and Shaiiko, and like we were like hate watching Riz and like making fun of the aim method. But like first of all, I think I like what he did. I think it's a good idea to like make money on this career, like especially if you're like playing for like those teams, like you don't really make any money, like to be honest. And then you're also playing for a team who probably not gonna make major. So if you're like a new like rookie, people are not gonna see you at the major, bro. Like so I feel sorry for you, you know, like and so if he is that guy that is really good and like a new rookie, we can't really see it, right? Because he's playing for a bad team. So like if he's going 0-8, okay, like the rest of his team is dying every round as well. Like they are not a competitive team. Look at the karma. Next week we play against them, by the way. Imagine if we lose the karma.
Yep.
So like I'm just saying, so like people also like trash talk players. The player could be even good, but he's playing on a bad team. So like you don't really know how to judge. Siege is just like very, very complicated to judge anything. But yeah, and my last opinion on him, I also think like people are like overestimating him just because of like his YouTube videos. You know, like I don't think that works like that. You know, like Siege is more than like flashy aims, right?
Yeah, 100%.
So
I mean, I don't understand why people will watch like YouTube highlights and think they have a good read on a player. Like, fuck, I'm dog shit at Rainbow Six Siege, but I could probably put together a pretty decent highlight package over the course of like a day or two that make me look good. Like, I feel like too many people put stock in the flashy clips. And I mean, Siege is a game where it does really well when it's edited, but I think like watching somebody live is a much better, I think, way of understanding somebody's abilities. Like You got a 3-minute round. What do you do for the, the 2 minutes and 55 seconds that aren't being clipped of action? I think that's the better test of how good they are. Am I wrong? Does that make sense?
No, 100%.
You tell me I'm wrong?
I think game sense, I mean, I say it all the time, game sense, your positioning, all that stuff matters more than your flashy aim. I think Fett even made a video on it. Look at Brazil. I don't see many flashy aimers in Brazil. It's just good crosshair placement, good positioning. Look at Paulo. He's not flashy. He's got the most kills in the entire world. Yeah, I value all that stuff as a coach as I'm watching tryouts or whatever it may be, more than just I think too many people buy into the aim labs and the Kovacs, and I also think Siege is like the least mechanically game that you need to be like an aimer, if that makes sense, right? Like compared to CS:GO or a Valorant where it's all crosshair placement and like fights like that. Like there's so many things in Siege. We have util, we have the push pull theory. Like there's so many ways to get kills and shoot people in the back and use shields and things like that. Like I
mean, look at Benja. Benja never had like flashy mechanics or flash aim. He actually always moved like a fucking bot, and he was the best player in the world. He was SI MVP, and we even joke with him. Like if you see him moving, like he doesn't have flash aim. He just kills people. You know,
knows the timing of it too. Speaking of killing people, though, you did pick up, we were just hinting on it, one of the best fraggers in the entire world. G tier, I believe, according to Alem4o. A G tier, a god. And now you just got Stompn, his content buddy, Shaiko. How did you go into that last SI considering the roster change? Was that already on the mind? Because you hinted at Blaz was going to be changed a year ago. And was Shaiko always the target, or was there another G tier player possibly that might have been in your sights?
No, I mean, we didn't have anyone in mind when we wanted to change Blast. We just thought as a team, like, look, Boston Rio performance was very poor of Uno and Blast, so we want to change 2 players. We didn't know who we would get. We couldn't change 2 players, so we only changed Uno. So we didn't have any names in mind, and especially after we changed Uno, we got Zach, and we almost won Saudi. I didn't want to change the roster. Like in my eyes, we were like a great team, you know. But I think like things were like evolving. I think towards the tournament. I think Munich was like fine. We lost to wildcard. I feel like we missed a little bit of passion. I think there. I think we got like kind of like complacent for being second on Saudi, even though we lost the final, and thinking that okay, SI is in 2 months. Like I didn't feel like we were like dying to win that fucking Munich major. You know, I feel like maybe like I don't know, because we won the first map against wildcard, and then we just like I don't know, like felt like we were out of gas to win the rest of the BO3. It felt like we already won after winning the first map, which was their pick. They picked Labs. We beat them like 7-2, I think, or 7-3. Destroyed them on their pick. And I think we came back to the stage thinking, okay, we already won against Wildcard. And then we slapped on and we lost the major. So, like, I think, like, we missed, like, this fire in the eyes, you know, like, to keep winning the Munich. But I think it's fine. And then, like, SI, okay, like, the big tournament. Okay, we have the big team. Like, could arguably that we were the best team in Saudi together, like with Secret. We are here to win SI, so let's go win SI. And then before bootcamp, my players start to fight in the TeamSpeak, like some crazy beef. We go into bootcamp. I have players pointing fingers at each other, like in crazy hot discussions after practice. Some shit talk. And we go into SI kinda on that vibe, like what the fuck is going on? But it's still very confident to win because we had everything we needed to win, like the strats, the good players, etc. And then we end up losing, which I would say, like unfortunately, every single map on groups OT. So we couldn't make winner bracket. Like every single map we lost was like 8-7. So yeah, we didn't make winner bracket, and then by not making winner bracket, you already like lower your odds to win the tournament by like a lot. And then on the lower bracket, we play like M80, play Secret. We beat M80, we beat FaZe, and everybody was saying FaZe was throwing the game. FaZe was not throwing that game. Everybody said they played border against us because it was their permaban. They end up beating Secret on the final on border, or no? I don't remember if they beat Secret on border, but they had border. They were just not showing before that match. So I guess we were the first team they showed their border that they end up playing after later on playoffs and winning SI with the border. So everybody was saying like they were just hiding strats, playing their permaban, which end up they weren't. destroy them on lair, and they are really good lair team phase. I think we beat them like 7-1 or 7-0. 7-0?
Mhm.
Don't remember. But we run over them, and we end up winning 2-1. So we beat the world champions, and they were trying, especially because I'm pretty sure Vita King loves see me going out of the tournament, and if they beat us, they would have
Oh, yeah.
sent us home. So I'm pretty sure they were trying their asses off to beat us there. So we beat the world champions, we beat M80, previous major champions, and then we go against Secret and end up losing 2-1, right? I think 2-1, yeah. And their map was Consulate, 7-0, played really bad. And I think the thing about losing Asai was at this moment, I think all that beef that was happening on boot camp and scrims, I think the vibe not being good influenced a lot on this game, because one of the players who was involved on the beef with the other player was acting maybe not so good for a game, complaining about nonsense between every single round, and not bringing the mood up, and then we end up losing 7-0 because was just I don't know, kind of madness. But then okay, we are eliminated, and we end up changing the lineup for reasons that people don't understand, because they would say Lore was the best player in the world, they would say Blaz was doing a good job as a support player, but a lot of things we cannot talk too deeply in public. But yeah, we made a decision, we changed the roster, we didn't know who we would get, but Benja was a free agent. We have great vibes with Benja. Me and Doki already play with him. We are all won the hammer together. So we thought it would be a great idea to get Benja back, my GOAT. And then we were like, okay, who do we get next? Not many good players like Benja, the free agent in the market, right? So I guess we're gonna have to buy one. And then we found out that Falcons was putting Shaiko on the bench. I don't know for what reasons, if the vibes are not so good there. I feel like Shaiko told me even during the night after they lost on a side that he was not so happy in Falcons, that maybe he would leave because he couldn't believe that they could win the title together, because they always get second. So he wasn't happy there. Falcons put him on the bench, and then G2 goes after Shaiko, buys arguably the best player of all time, and now we are here with a lot of superstars, and the vibes are great. I think all of our fans are seeing that we are streaming a lot, playing the game together. And I even read some comments yesterday on the Twitch chat saying that, oh guys, G2 is losing and Shaiko is smiling. That's a good sign. Because I think in Falcons he used to tilt a lot. I don't know if it was the vibes, the mood in the team was a little bit too stressed. But I feel like the vibes in the team right now are very good, and we can keep this environment that allow us to perform and always be able to come back from bad spots in a match. Yesterday we were losing 4-0 and we came back 6-5. So on constant attacking, constant, we won almost every round on attack in a row. We lost 2v1 on piano attack, could have closed the match. So yeah, I think the vibes are great. I'm loving the team. Shaiko is one of the greatest of all time, and yeah.
How do you find his personality? Because I mean, he didn't really speak English a couple years ago. His English has improved a lot. He's always been a very quiet guy. Even when he was on those Be Geniuses teams, even when he was speaking in French, he didn't really talk a lot. He didn't really do a lot of media. How does his personality mesh with a team like yours, where you have a lot of dominant personalities?
I mean, I wouldn't say he has a dominant personality, because I think he's very chill, actually. I think he just likes to be left, don't piss me off, And in the team,
Yeah.
we don't have anyone who would go after the other, pointing fingers at each other. Not anymore, at least. So I think we have a good environment in the team, and Shaiko is enjoying it. And he's also very acceptable to feedback. So if we want him to change something he's doing, some role, or changing the way he's playing, he would just listen and be okay with it. No arguments, nothing. I don't know, maybe if it's because we're living in a honeymoon. Maybe he's different, but the Shaiko I know so far, great teammate. Maybe many people would think the other way. But yeah, I'm really enjoying playing with Shaiko, and I think he fits in the team very well.
I think vibes are everything. I mean, I like what you're saying
Yeah.
too. With the Falcons, did seem a little stressed out. I think there's no secret there that it was just a matter of time. Probably, I think we talked about on one of the past episodes that they're probably due for a switch up, and I think it's totally fine. I mean, they got June. They got arguably the best player in the entire world. I think it's great. I think it's great for both sides, though. Shaiko obviously gets to go to your team, where it seems like you guys are learning that vibes matter. I actually am a big believer in Siege is more of a mental game than it is anything else, especially when you get to these events, because like teams just break up on themselves because the pressure gets to them and shit talk gets to them, and like you need to stay in a good mental. So I feel like this atmosphere. I mean, again, I feel like it's great for both sides to see Shaiko in somewhere he can just be joking around. And you guys get a lot of talk about that. Like, you guys were smiling after streaming. You were like, even in my chat, people kept like coming back to me reporting, like, why are they laughing? Why are they laughing? They just lost. What's going on? And it's like, people don't realize you guys are human beings. Like, you're obviously you're taking the loss harder than anybody in chat is, right? You guys obviously want to win, but at the end of the day, you got to keep a good mental. You can't be stressed out over one simple loss.
No, and it's something like, of course, I don't think anyone in the team would be streaming after like getting eliminated of a major OSI. Like nobody has the mentals for that. But like it's completely different. We're talking about like we're playing the UL right now. Like we lost one game, the first game against the best team in the group. So like we have 3 games next week. You know, like it's not the end of the world. It's actually like nothing like the end of the world. We just started. We are a new team. So like people like to criticize, you know, especially because it's us. But like also they don't understand. Like need to take as like chill. Need to chill.
Yeah.
Can't stress too much. If you stress too much, then you lose yourself and you end up losing even harder.
Can I ask, just digging into that game just a little bit, because we're actually kind of lucky to be able to get you after a game, and now that we kind of seen what the new G2 is looking like, roles shifting around a little bit. Seems like Doki maybe taking more of the Blaz role. Yes.
Depends of the map, you know, like yeah, because like you would say like Zach takes a lot of I think Zach is the one that takes more blast rolls, you know, because he already used to play the hard breach sometimes, and Blaz used to play like some shit position, like either they were always sharing the same role. Either one of them is the hard support and the other is like playing like the flank watcher, playing in a spot, holding something the whole round, you know, or the opposite. And now I think Zach is doing more the arbit role, and then like either Doki does the other one, or like sometimes I do. Like depending if I have to play shields or not, then I can do something else. Like I can play arbit if I'm not playing shields, depending of the map. Or like if I need to be more like a flex, then I have to play flex, and somebody else has to play like you know, different. So it depends.
Okay, and it seems like it's working for you guys on attack. Obviously, you guys won a ton of attacks yesterday. I'm not worried about G2's attacks. But Consulate, known as one of the most defender-sided maps, you guys were only winning 2 defenses. What's kind of going on with your defenses at the moment?
Yeah, I mean, I think on scrims, if I give you the example, I think is we were struggling a lot on the attacks and winning like every defense, like every map, at least like 5 defenses, like, you know, sometimes 6, like flawless. So like we weren't struggling at all on defense on a lot of maps. And then you go to Constant, which is probably the most defender-sided map, and we end up losing 6 defenses. I would, of course, like maybe like we didn't know how to react in some rounds, didn't have the good comms to like identify what we needed to do against VP. And also I'll give them the credit. Like I think they played really well. I think the preparation they had for the game, you know, like they already knew maybe the Monty will be open, because I think we practiced with them as well. We tried to change some stuff so not be the same thing, but like they end up banning the Clash second ban to abuse the Monty, and they work really well around the Tachanka and Smoke. So even though we had Tachanka and Smoke, we couldn't counter the Monty properly. They also abused Zing a lot, didn't have Warden on the composition, and that kind of like fucked us over, and we needed to act doing something, and we didn't do anything. So I would praise them like very well for what they did on the attacks. I think also like there was some round they were doing, I think it was for Piano, they were also like taking out of the Monty and like some AIDS operators, abusing glass a lot, etc. And then also lurking for the backside. And it's also a playstyle you wouldn't see VP doing back in the days, you know. So I would again praise Dark as their new coach. I think he's really one of the greats. He fixed Fear Eggs. Now he's gonna fix VP. He's gonna teach them how to play the game. And VP has like great players. So like they have now like a shield player. In the past, Shepard was not like really like the best shield player. Now they have Neiko. So like they're gonna be way more versatile, adaptive, and a hard team to beat. And arguably the top 3 team in Europe together with us and Falcons. because I think
Yeah.
Secret kind of fell off without Jum and Adrian.
I'm actually so glad you pointed that to VP. And instead of kind of, I mean, you mentioned like comm issues and stuff like that, but with the VP, we are seeing a lot of cheese power ups all the time. Would you say that caught you off guard? Did you expect a different VP, or did you practice against them before and kind of knew what to expect?
I mean, we kind of expected that, but we thought we would be able to control it. You know, like I said, like with like okay, they banned the clash, but we still have smoke, Tachanka, traps open to deal with the mount. But the way they played was like very good, and like they were like if you see the rounds, they were abusing the BB to play fast or the blitz to take like tellers or piano fast, like Twitch zap in the trap so you can push with the shield and then like getting the opening kill fast. The other players reacting really good to get the rotate. So one round I went to react on Doki to refrag on tellers, and the guy was holding me to the reaction, so they got 2 kills there for free. And then like the round turns up to be a snowball, and they end up using baiting the smokes or like the Tachankas in a way we couldn't counter the Monty, you know, or the Ying. So we knew what to expect, we just didn't counter properly, you know. Like they played really well because in our heads we were be able to counter the way they were gonna play.
No, I mean 100%. And again, you guys, your mental attest to it. You guys were able to pull that back after being down on defense. You don't want to be down, switching onto your attack side, and you guys were able to bring it back all the way to OT, all the way to 7-7, where we got a duel of fates. And then I gotta ask the question, because Reddit wants me to ask it. Why'd we peak the skylight? Why'd we peak the skylight? 7-7. We lost 2 players to Dan. What's going on there? I know you guys had a laugh about it, but you could explain.
I mean, I think the chat is just like, I think Doki played bad at round because he was playing long desk and the desk was broken. The guy breaks the long desk and he got exposed to the sky with his feet, like, and he plays in that position every round. He should know when he's exposing his feet to the sky, and then he died to the sky, like the guy shooting his feet, and Shaiko tried to refrag instantly, and then Shaiko ended up dying. But like, I would maybe do the same thing as Shaiko. Like, you cannot give up long desk such early in the round, like man disadvantage. They have BB, a lot of ops to execute after. Like, I would have done the same thing as Shaiko. Like, who trolled that round was Doki getting his feet exposed to the Scarlet. But like we could have won. Like, this is not even the important question to make. Like, we were up 6-5, and we was 5v3, but the guy that flanked yellow, Zach didn't kill. Zach tried to play off sound and he threw a flashbang, and the guy ran through Zach's flashbang. He ended up flanking, killing me and Benja planting. If Zach cuts that guy off flanking yellow, it would have been a flawless 5-0, and we would have won 7-5. So like, and this was one piano attack, and the other piano attack was the Neiko 1v3 actually, because like, he picked on the hedge, killed Doki, honed him, and then killed Zach on the vert and Shaiko then after. So like, we lost a 1v3 to Neiko on vert, and then we lost a 5v3 that the bomb was gonna go down. So like, we could have won all the attacks.
I think also the basement attack where you guys were it was a perfect call from you guys. Benja holding the flank, loses to a hip firing SMG 12 flanking, and then you also got a lot of hate for this, but it was a perfect call. You knew the flank was coming, so you said flood sight. Right? You say flood sight. You're the blitz. You blind the guy, as chat says. You didn't actually blind him because you would see the animation. So you did an ADS. Chat starts roasting you, wondering why you're not killing the guy because he's not blind, and you know he's not blind. Player, you ask for someone to walk down locker hallway. That guy gets fried. That Ella went huge. But there was so many moments I felt like you guys were actually playing really well.
Yeah, bro, and that Ella played so good. And I saw I got flamed by that I was selling Shaiko, because Shaiko was the guy pushing the highway and died to the Ella. Bro, I was pushing the Ella. I flash him. He turned his back instantly to the flash, doesn't get blind, shoots my shield, so I can't run anymore. I'm like thorn trapped. I like was slow walking, so I can't even walk to punch him, so Shaiko can kill him. So like I'm just like staring there and saying Shaiko, on ping, and then the guy ends up killing Shaiko, and then I kill the guy. But like then it was already like a 2v4. I don't know how the rest of the guys died, but like the guy played really good with the Ella. Like there's nothing you can say. Like he just played really good.
And sometimes, again, you guys made the right call, but sometimes the other team just hit some shots. Again, the hip fire was insane on Benja. Like, he had that guy dead to rights. He kills that guy. There's no flank. You guys are not worried about anything. Like, that's just the complexities.
And I'm not even kidding. Maybe I should have even called to flood site like 10 seconds earlier. I think I hesitated to call to flood site, and then because I hesitated, then we gave the time to maybe the video flank down Tyler Stairs and kill Doki and pushing con. So if I didn't hesitate to call flood site, we would have won that round, I think, easier.
I unfortunately did not get a chance to watch any of the games up to this point because it has been a very, very busy week for me. But my intention is that starting next week once all of this is all said and done. Because my NAL schedule and my SAL schedule is kind of bizarre. I work today, which is April 1st, then I work the 9th, and then I don't work again until the 18th, where I then work 18th, 19th, 20th, 22nd, and 23rd. So it's a busy end of the month, but I'd like to start streaming and watching these so that I can jump in more. But I really appreciate, Mint, that you're able to talk game with Alem4o. It was something that was honestly really missed with the Philippox episode. There were a couple of times where I just don't have the ball knowledge to be able to dive in the way you do, and I was like, damn. I was like, it would have been nice to have Mint there to bounce off of him. But all told, it sounds like.
That guy's
sorry?
That Philippox would just outball knowledge me. That guy's the go.
Well, I mean, it's not a competition. It's not a competition by any stretch of the imagination, but it's good and it's insightful. And I mean, when you pick up somebody like Shaiko onto the team, I think the conversation around Shaiko has been very interesting to watch unfold. Right? Because everybody was like, oh, he's definitely cheating. He's obviously good, but he's definitely cheating. And then he got banned and then he came back and they're like, well, maybe he wasn't cheating. Maybe he was cheating, but he's still really good. And now it's like nobody really cares about what happened a long time ago. It's well in the past. At this point, people can see it and it's like, presumably, he's not cheating. I don't think he is. And it's like, he's just a fucking terrific player. But the numbers don't lie. He doesn't do as well in the bigger stakes games. Now, I had a couple of conversations with people at SI, particularly at the after party in the wake of their loss. And, the day of, because they technically lost on Saturday, but I also talked to people on Sunday. And they all just said, like, I don't know if that team can get the most out of Shaiko. And maybe he does need a change of pace. Maybe he does need a change of scenery. And they pointed a lot to like leadership and coaching and saying that like obviously like Leaky Fack is not a bad IGL and Julio is not a bad coach, but maybe they're just not the IGL and coach that get the most out of somebody like Shaiko. Now, well above my pay grade to weigh in on what kind of coach and what kind of IGL is right for Shaiko, but I am very interested to see his development on G2 because G2 as a team obviously plays under an even brighter spotlight, I would argue, than the Falcons do. I think Shaiko on this G2 team has a bit more room to hide because of the big names on your roster, Karl. But I think by and large, the expectations for Shaiko, in my eyes, are even higher than they were on Falcons. I don't know if you guys would agree, but I feel like there's even more pressure on Shaiko to compete now because of how big G2 is, because of the expectations of the org, because of the players on the roster. So if he can rise to the occasion and, kind of quell some of the doubters and quiet some of the naysayers, then all the power to him. We're here to see people succeed. We've talked about Shaiko an awful lot on this show. And I think that the consensus is that he is one of the best players who's ever played the game. There's no denying that. But victory seems to elude him. And how do you fix that? Is Karl the answer? Is Romalia the answer? Is G2 the answer? I guess we'll have to see. But you've only played one game so far.
Yeah.
Time will tell.
Yeah. It's always hard to win. We just have to do our best and be well-minded to like not tilt and just break apart in the middle of the way, in the middle of the journey. I feel like a lot of teams, a lot of people think like you should like, I don't know, if it's not working, you should change. I have different opinion. I always like to, give time to things and things will work out. That was our mentality back in Team 1. We were a long team project. We just ending up winning faster, but we were like planning to like be together for a long time, just like because we all know it's hard to win. Like many young players think like they're gonna win, but they don't really know how hard it is. I think you want to know how hard it is to win after you win, because then like you cannot win again because it's so hard, and then you realize, oh my god, I actually won once. It was so hard. Like the young players, I think it's just easy. Oh, I'm gonna win the major, of course. One, who doesn't win one? Well, many people don't win one. It's very hard. So like this lineup, of course, have all the superstars, but the level is pretty high. It's gonna be hard to win a tournament. We're gonna be there fighting at the top. I have no doubts, but it's gonna be hard to win a trophy. I can assure that. But we just have to give our best.
I mean, that's all you can do. And especially, when you look at some of the scaled back years we had, you had like 2-3 opportunities to win an event that year. And it's like, you got to qualify for the event. You got to make a good run, hope that nobody gets sick, hope that there's no, there's no external drama.
Hopefully Mowgli doesn't drop 20,
you get
20 kills a map.
Yeah. there's a lot of factors, and I mean it's really not easy, which is why teams like that Penta G2 core, the FaZe core now, the Furia core, well the Team Liquid Furia W7M core, even EG who never won, or even Falcons who never won, or even Liquid who constantly finish second. I know that we don't really give them the respect that they deserve, but if you're making 5 events of the 6 events in 2 years and you're making top 3 every time, that is a terrific accomplishment. Like, just that in and of itself is so unbelievably hard. And obviously it sucks that Falcons make the finals as many times as they did under Falcons and BDS. Sure, it sucks that Liquid did the same and they almost never won, right? Liquid only winning Atlantic City, BDS only beating Liquid in the Unshirping Major. Like, the fact that they're making it to the top 2 consistently, or the top 3, or even the top 4 with how competitive it is and how few events there are is incredible. But obviously you don't want to be second place. You don't want to be the first loser. You want to be the winner. So the fact, Karl, that you've been able to do it twice, including lifting a hammer, is a testament to you and your abilities and your team's abilities. And I mean, I obviously don't have a favorite team, but I think for a storyline, it'd be kind of nice to see the current group that you have with G2 win again. But again, that's just from a narrative perspective. It makes my job easy and I could sell it quite well.
Yeah.
But I think it'd be good for the esport too. So all the best for this year and onwards.
Thanks. Everyone will see a Cinderella story.
The Mexico Major is one of my favorite events of all time. So I mean, your obvious inclusion in it and everything that came with it is forever bonded with me in those memories. So I was desperate to cast a Brazilian team winning an event. I finally got it. You were the first one. It was the last event with Michael. It was the first real event after COVID restrictions started to ease up, and it was also my second traveled event, technically diabetic, because I guess I did Tokoname, but that was like right after. So it was just like, it was kind of this like perfect storm, and it's like I look back very fondly on Mexico. So I know that we call them Cinderella runs, and I think we've called it like the Montreal Miracle or the Mexico Miracle or whatever the hell else it is. But I don't think it's a miracle if G2 makes a deep run with the roster you have. In fact, a miracle would be anybody beating you before the top 8 with what you have on paper. So
yeah, W Glaze.
yeah. This has been a tremendous episode. I feel like you have spoken the most of any guest we've had in quite some time, and because of that, you have imparted a lot of knowledge and a lot of wisdom on our audience, and for that, I'm hugely appreciative, and I thank you a lot. Mint, it was really nice to have you back here to join me in the saddle. Just a little bit of housekeeping before we wrap up the episode. Because kickoff is going to be going on for the next couple weeks, it is unlikely that we will be doing guest featured episodes. We might still have guests on the show for the next couple weeks, but the focus will be on the results of those games. I'd like to maybe bring some people on from those regions to talk about particular matches, but it really depends on their availability, and it depends, of course, on what happens in those games and whether teams are available. Karl, I really appreciate you taking the time out of your busy schedule to join us for almost 4 hours at this point.
Thank you. That was nice.
It was a great show, and you're always welcome on in the future. I think there's more that we can dig into with this G2 roster as well. So we'll definitely be sending you invites if you fail to make it to an event, as unlikely as that seems.
Please no.
Yeah, I mean, if G2 fails to make an event with that roster, what do you even do, right?
Well, also the viewership
on behalf
of
yeah, we
Save the
need,
game.
we need like
Need
G2
G2
and
in the
Liquid and all that in the
tournament.
finals.
G2 needs to be in grand finals for the next 2 years, please, for the viewership.
We need those Stompn and co-stream views up,
Yeah, bro. Actually, yes.
We need all the people co-streaming Stompn and playing. So yet another episode in the books. As always, greatly appreciate if you made it this far. Like, subscribe, comment. Of course, we don't really do call to actions during the guest episodes, but there is something coming through Last Free Nation. There will be a particular system that you can sign up for that is not fully developed yet, as far as I'm aware, but it will allow you to ask questions to us and our guests, which will be a cool feature. Among other things, we're just teasing it for now because it's not fully fleshed out, but it will be almost like a VIP system. I believe it will be a subscription-based system. So you're welcome to do that. If so, there will be perks and benefits of doing that. We want to start opening up questions from the audience for both ourselves and for our guests. The idea being that we will be able to give you a heads up in time as to who our guests will be so that you can ask them questions, then we can read them directly. It's something that I've wanted to do for a while. And now it looks like we actually have the mechanism to do that. So keep your eyes peeled for that. Leave a comment down below of who you want to see on the show moving forward, your expectations for G2, your expectations for kickoff. And I don't know, it's some, what else could we, just something that they can comment on. What's your favorite color? There you go. What's your favorite color, Kyle?
Mint.
I don't have a favorite color.
Oh, fucking course it is. Jesus Christ. What's yours, Karl?
I have no idea. I don't know. Purple?
You don't have a favorite color.
No.
That's fair. Hey,
Mine's
that's
green,
fair.
but that's fair. Maybe he just likes all the colors equally. Who knows?
Yeah.
I like all
Anyway.
the colors equally.
There you go. A beautiful way to cap off this episode. Thank you very much for sticking with this episode. And thanks as always for your viewership on behalf of myself, Mint, Alem4o, producer David, and Last Free Nation, and all of our sponsors. Thank you very much for watching. Take care of yourselves, and we'll see you on the next episode.